Hey everyone, welcome to Download Podcast, episode 144. Tonight, Zombie brought some questions to me that he wants to do for toy collecting. So I brought some of my toy collector friends on here. I was hoping to get a couple more, but it was all right, scheduling problems. So, especially I know Owaz wanted to be on here, but he was coming back from Toylanta. So tonight,
Nice.
for the first time, I have Geek Story.
Hello.
Yeah.
I just run a game history channel for the most part. I do collecting on the side. I did used to run a channel that was more focused on collecting, but that didn't really work out as well or vibe with me as well as doing more history content. So I moved more that direction. So
Yeah,
anyway,
Hey,
I'm just
we
here
need
to talk about toys.
yeah, yeah.
we need our histories though, right? We need our
Right?
preserved moments in time.
Why these things we love are important, even though I can't get it. Yeah, there we go.
Bumblebee, really?
Hey, he's my favorite Autobot. Yeah.
I
Here,
know,
here,
I
here, here.
know.
I've got the card back version of that one actually right here too.
Oh
It's
yeah,
not the
Ah,
nice.
same. It's not the same missing link style one. I do kind of want to get one of those.
They're getting expensive.
They
Uh,
man,
are. It's
yeah.
crazy.
I knew I should have went and tried to dig out the sound wave.
Okay, so and of course we got Stark back again.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the Sanctum Sanctorum. Everything spooky, everything fun, and everything in between.
And
Funky.
yeah, funky, yeah, exactly. Well, and in Zombie, JLT1.
Hey everybody, y'all know me. I'm your supernatural gamer, gaming beautician, and of course, toy lover as well, but not as hardcore as these guys, which is why we are taking a deep dive into the world of toy collecting. Cannot wait.
Yep. So that's basically what this boils down to is that we decided that we wanted to do an episode centric on toy collecting. There's a lot of us that are gamers that stream or do video content that do collect other memorabilia,
We do?
toys being one of them. And but it seems like it's not talked about enough within our community.
Mhm.
And we want to share that love and share the passion of why we enjoy this stuff. So, but yeah, Zombie, I'll let you take the reins as this is the topic you brought for us.
Awesome. All right, well, let's kick things off from the very beginning, shall we? What would you say was the first toy line, if not multiple ones, that grabbed your attention as kids?
I could
Hmm.
start with this one unless Sanctum wants to go.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Let's all go.
So, so I'd had collected a few things before, but the one that really got me hooked, and I always remember this, I was at my grandmother's house on Christmas Eve, and my aunt hands me my Christmas present because we always exchange presents with the extended family there, right? I open it up, and there's Wheeljack from Transformers, right? I had no idea these things were a thing at all. And I was immediately hooked. Something that was a puzzle, a robot, and a car all in one. Oh my God, where do I get more of these? Wait, there's a cartoon too? Wait, there's comics? Oh
Mhm.
no. Oh no, let's go down this rabbit hole. So
Yes.
yeah, that was probably like the big one. I was into G.I. Joe as well, but that was a big one for me.
I was thinking like the first toy line that really just grabbed my eyes, because I remember having a bunch of them, are the real Ghostbusters. Um, because we had the Ghostbusters, they had a ghost that had different, little knickknacks and gimmicks that they had. The Ghostbusters had gimmicks, and they were cheap. They were cheap and easy, and so I think that would be the first thing that I started getting and collecting, and really just, caught my attention. Um, Fun fact, if you remember the Police Academy toys.
Hmm.
They repurposed the firehouse for their police station.
Yep.
I didn't know that until recently. I was like, wow. But most definitely that was the
Uh,
one that caught my eye because again, also they made the proton pack and the
Ugh.
PKE
I want
meter.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it was just a little bit of fun for everyone, right? They had the neutrino one that projected an image on the wall. So it could be you put in a little slide, it could be Slimer, it could be, a different ghost, and you could pretend like you were a Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
Before we started this, we were talking about toys that are not as memorable. Do you even see things like that today?
Yes, actually. If you
Oh,
show my screen for a second, they
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah. Well, check
recently
it.
did these, but
Yeah,
they
yeah.
Mondo did these.
Yes.
yes.
Oh my God, that's
These
Sam
are
Hain.
amazing for people who are fans of this because I was a
I
huge
win.
into the Ghostbusters as a kid. Real Ghostbusters was like my jam as a kid. I loved that show.
Yep.
I had tons of fun with that as well. I was into a lot of toys as a kid, and as an
Mhm.
adult, I spend adult money on childish things because um, I I stopped growing up. It was no fun. It was no fun.
Right. Oh man. Uh, so I'm right there with geeks on the fact that like Transformers was the thing. If you guys know me, I love any type of robotics, mecha, transforming. I grew up watching Robotech, I
Mhm.
Transformers, and next to G.I. Joe, Transformers was the thing that just I gravitated to. And it came out like the year after I was born. So as I was, 82? Well, 82 for G.I. Joe. 84.
84 for
84. So
Transformers.
I was 3 years old. So that was perfect age for Transformers. And they were small. Bumblebee was always my favorite, but I remember getting Prime, Bumblebee, and Starscream for Christmas one year. And
Mhm.
that started just the passion that's continued to rule my life. But I'm very particular about that because I really love the G1 Transformers. I
Right.
like Beast Wars. I enjoyed that show. But when it started moving away from the characters we enjoyed, it was really hard for me to like kind of continue to watch. So like Energon and um, I liked Rid, Robots in Disguise, but
Yeah, I
um,
did too.
some of that stuff in
Armada is
between.
honestly pretty shockingly good. I've been
That's
catching
yes.
episodes of it here and there, and it's really good. I think they did a little bit too many kids in that one, just too much with the kids.
Hmm.
But overall, it's very good.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think what it was is it was more the designs for the Transformers. Because then they got into whole like let's
Yeah,
combine them together, and it's like I
Yeah,
I just want the combiners. I don't want like two that form into one giant or taller, slightly taller deluxe figure.
DBZ
Um,
Fusion.
yeah, but they were great. I mean, I still have my Unicron that was released from that series, which is freaking awesome. That was the closest we got until they did the HasLab one.
Nice.
yeah. I have a third party Unicron that I need to break out and set up that looks just
Oh, the
insanely cool. I think they
Studio
called it
Cell or something like
yeah pumpkin or something like that.
that.
Yeah,
Very cool. So you guys are naming toy lines that are well-established franchises, um, and that have definitely carried on over the years, especially with companies reissuing a lot of the original toys, like uh, Ghostbusters got a re-release. Um, Transformers G1s, they were selective about it, but they did release certain characters like fan favorites and such. Although I don't know who asked for Hot Rod. Um,
Hot Rod's
or
cool.
or Rodimus
It's
Prime,
when
I
he
mean.
became Rodimus that things got sketchy, and we could go into that, but that might be a different show.
Yeah. Um, Now, what I gravitated towards as a kid were, yeah, I had my fair share of interest with franchises like Transformers, Thundercats, GoBots, a lot of really, really popular lines. But I tended to collect the lines that were either obscure or just easy to get a hold of. As much as my uncle and I loved Transformers, I gravitated to GoBots because there were more GoBots out there than there were Transformers. Now I know why that is because obviously Transformers is way more popular than GoBots. Um, and they were cheaper, you know.
I had
You
a
could
lot of
go
GoBots as well.
you could go buy 4 or 5 GoBots for the price of one Transformer. And they were smaller, more transportable, all that. So I tended to gravitate towards the alternatives in many cases. I think the first line of anything that I was that hardcore towards was my guy, My Pet Monster. I still have my whole childhood collection of the plushes, and I refuse to give those up. I will be buried with those things. Um, but my point is that it ties into my next question of, do you believe that your interests, your what started your collecting was because of the exposure that maybe you had growing up? Did you consider that a luxury in many ways? And the reason why I ask it that way is because as a kid growing up where I did, unless you were able to travel, I mean, miles to the nearest Toys R Us or the nearest mall even, you had to luck out and hope that what you're looking for was on those store shelves. So, do you feel that your exposure to these lines or the accessibility is kind of what shaped your collecting, your interests?
So I'll go ahead and go.
Mhm.
For me, it's a little different. So my dad had me at 19, so I got to grow up with my dad. So the shows and things that I watched were heavily influenced by him, or things that I watched that he got interested in. So we would go and like on a weekend go hit flea markets, and then that's where you could get those GoBots for like really cheap or Transformers secondhand. But then we'd also go looking around to like different comic book shops and toy stores and so like my collecting is also a nostalgia and remembrance. Like I've always stated that like my collection is a window into my past. Like things I
Right.
enjoy, it it resonates in memory with me with my dad sitting there playing with our toys and creating stories and then all the other things, role playing all of our friends. So it's instead of having pictures up, I have toys. I do have pictures. I'm just saying it's like I've always associated my figures and things as like my pictures to my past or memories of this. Like so if I have things that my grandparents got me and other people have got me over throughout my life. So I definitely say that yeah, to your question, I agree that um my collecting is tied to my nostalgia and past versus it being anything else.
Sanctum, you want to go next? I feel like I'm muscling in a lot.
No, no, you're fine. I was actually sitting here thinking about it. Like, I'm not really sure because, there's fandoms that I've tried to collect as a kid that I couldn't find. The Power Ranger craze. They had the
Mm-hmm.
head flippers, and I remember I found one of all of them. Like, I only found one, and I was like, but the exposure was the TV show, and then with Ghostbusters, it was the cartoon. So I think maybe that really shaped it for me. Like you see it and then you want to play with it.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling my friend years ago who collects with me, it's like when you collect, you get to make your own episodes of that show, you know? So you have a ghost and you have a figure, and then you get to play it out. So maybe that did shape why I liked Ghostbusters so much. And plus, like, toy companies were not afraid to take risk sometimes. Um, like I was thinking about some of the monsters that they created for the real Ghostbusters, like a football player and his back opens up and it's a monster. It's really creepy, or a
Yeah.
mailman that becomes like his pockets open up and his tie's a nose, stuff like that. So all these things is really creepy and cool. And so there is an appeal to that, but you can continue that saga that show or whatever, it's just something that has been on the back of my mind a little bit, like of why we collect certain series, not just to have that person, but to, pose it. Because I was thinking about what Vince was saying, like his toys are a review of his past, but there is an art to just posing and creating certain scenes or creating scenes that may not, or how you would view it, or how you would do it,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But that's really the only thing I could think of when it comes to, that question, that maybe it did, and we wanted to continue to hold on to it.
Now, given the theme of your channel, because you're such a fan of Ghostbusters, would you say that that had something to do with influencing how you do your content?
Yes,
Is
I
that a
would,
safe to say?
because the second series, I was thinking about that too. The second series that I collected big on besides Turtles would have been Beetlejuice.
Mm.
And they had a huge toy line for that. And
Oh yeah.
Yep.
so yeah, I do believe that it did shape, where I am now.
I think mine's kind of a mixed bag because a lot of my growing up, I remember my dad either being away overseas because that's where he worked at the time, or they were both working and I'd come home and I'd be mostly unsupervised, right? So I'd sit down and I'd watch cartoons. So I didn't see a lot of my parents a lot of the time when I was growing up. They were busy, right? Doing other things. I mean, I had a lot of toys and stuff like that. So I think a lot of what I did, because I imprinted more, and this will sound stupid, as Optimus Prime as a growing up role model than I did any kind of sports person or even my dad. Because my dad
Mm-hmm.
wasn't around a ton, right? He was busy making money for the family. And a lot of times that involved him being away. So he wasn't there. He wasn't in the picture a lot. Even when I was in high school, we had such different interests. He wasn't around. So I think a lot of my nostalgia is in my collecting comes from gravitating back to those things that I enjoyed and moments that I had that were quiet after school, or being able to sit down at my grandmother's house with a toy and hang out with her while I watched a show while she took care of me while my mom did something else. And a lot of it's just kind of like it's sort of my comfort zone, right? I like having these
Mm-hmm.
things because they remind me of simpler times in my
Yes.
personal life, right? Simpler times in life in general. Because while, because we're a weird generation, like early and late Gen X are a weird generation. Because I was talking to my wife about this. We're the first generation where both parents were really required to work to
Mm-hmm.
make the home a home.
Mhm.
And so not only we were out running around unsupervised and drinking from water hoses and riding on bikes and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
Which was cool but dangerous in its own way. But a lot of that stemmed from the fact that our parents were busy just trying to provide. Things
Mhm.
had gotten so complicated and so expensive that you needed two incomes. And it was really, we're the first generation to be stuck with with parents that are having to figure this out. They have
Yes.
no idea how this works. Nobody before has had to do this, right? They've always been raised in a household where there's like a stay at home mom and dad goes off to work. And now they have to figure out how you juggle the kids. How do you get the kids here? How do you make enough money to put food on the table? How do you juggle who's at home when? How long can the kids be at home alone unsupervised, right? How do we
Mm-hmm.
keep track of the kids and that kind of stuff? So it led to like weird dichotomies in our raising. And also, we were the first generation to have these kinds of collectibles, too.
Yes.
I don't think a lot of people realize that collecting like G.I. Joe and Transformers and all these figures of these small sizes, there were toys in some of these lines before, but they weren't. The action figure didn't really exist until our generation, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a phenomenon that's unique and synonymous with our generation. And as we grew up, our parents are just like, well, you need to get rid of this stuff. And we're the first ones to kind of stop and go,
No, we don't.
but why?
Yeah.
Why
Yep.
do I have to do that? If I can support my kids and I can pay my bills, why do I have to stop loving and collecting the things that brought me joy as a child and still make me happy today? Like
Yep.
Hmm.
before we
Mm.
were doing this, I was watching GoBots on Tubi.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, not
Yeah.
my favorite cartoon, but I hadn't seen it in forever. And I'm like,
Right?
let's sit down and watch some GoBots. I've watched Transformers a bunch. I haven't seen GoBots in forever.
Hmm.
And them being cyborgs is weird. I didn't remember that. I'm like, oh my God. You're like human brain stuffed in a robot. What did you do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
you
was a
bring up sorry, you bring up an interesting point though. Like, people our age still collecting. I see you're wearing a Voltron shirt.
Hmm.
Has anyone ever asked you why do you wear stuff like that? Because we wear our fandoms on our shirts, but that it's okay and acceptable to some people to wear sports memorabilia all the time. That's something they're
hmm
interested in. That's something they
Hmm.
collect. So what's the difference between the two? You support something a little different than what they support, but it is a fandom that you support. So what is the problem, you know?
I I think part of it is the normalcy of it, right? Because
Yes.
Yes.
the boomer generation was always into sports. That was their thing as they got older, right? So they
Hmm.
wean their kids onto that and their kids get into sports. And some kids were into
Great
some
American
people are into sports
pastime.
and they're into collecting toys and video games and everything else.
Hmm.
I ain't no shame on any of the stuff you want to collect. Collect whatever makes you happy, right? But some of it is considered more adult by the
Yeah.
nature of the fact that our parents were into that and more adults watch that and money is
hmm
exchanged and it's considered a professional thing. Collecting isn't really considered anything that anybody goes in professional on and there's no like real idols there or anything like that that people consider. I would argue there are because there's a lot of the interesting
Influencers.
thing about cartoons of our age and as we grew up through the 90s is the stories they told are very adult stories. They're
Yes.
very morality based stories done in a fictional way to entertain kids. And yes, sell toys. Most of them were toy commercials, but there were either morals and moral lessons at the end of He Man or moral arts for Transformers or G.I. Joe or whatever, and
Hmm.
things like that. So, and our generation learned a lot of our morality, honestly, from toys and from
Yeah.
cartoons. Because
It
again, like I said before, our parents were just super busy. It's not their
Yeah.
fault. They were trying to figure stuff out. So we had to get our morality somewhere. And luckily, TV still had a bit of a moral compass, which
Yes.
honestly, it's missing now,
yeah,
right?
definitely.
hmm Yeah. I
To
think you
Yeah.
nailed that.
I would also add that like for oh man, like I've always wore if I can even at work, like even like because of my old job we had on Fridays you had casual wear. You could wear jeans and a t-shirt. And I'd wear freaking video game and anime and comic book characters just because that's what I'm passionate about. I remember in middle school I would wear before we had standardized dress code.
Yeah.
I wore Star Wars shirt. I was known as the guy that loved Star Wars, even though Star Wars hadn't
hmm
existed in a long time. It's just like you're looking at like 95 to 97. I mean, we did start getting the Power of the Force 2 figures and stuff, and I collected that. But I was a huge Star Wars fan. And it was just something that my family was a big fan of. And it's you can either conform to society or be happy in your own skin, wear what you want, be who you want to be, and not worry about it. And that's one of the things about for me growing up was that I never gave up toys. I never gave up video games, never gave up anime because it's like
Same.
this is who I am. I enjoy this
Hmm.
stuff. And if like a girl's not going to like it, I can't help that. I'm not going to go chase a girl just to change who I am. I'm going to be
hmm
who I am, and if you accept me for who I am, then that's fine. And I did date a couple girls like that that were okay with it. Luckily, I never had one that was like, "Oh, you like this," or they were weirded out by it. But I guess that was part of the generation I grew up with. Because
Yeah.
I remember girls that were like into Power Rangers, like back in fifth grade, that were just all obsessed with it. And I was
hmm
like, this is so weird. It's a Japanese because I knew about Super Sentai at the time before because I watched Dynaman on USA Network.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is cool. So I went and found books about it. I was like, this is awesome. And then whenever Power Rangers came out, I was like, oh, this is cool, but it's not the same. But
I never actually got an appreciation for Power Rangers until I started getting into the Godzilla movies as I got older. And then I went back and looked at it and go, okay, I totally get one, why this hit a certain age group a certain way, and why an older age group that was exposed to Godzilla would just dive right in with him,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
Because it was basically like weekly, it was like weekly Godzilla or daily Godzilla over and over and over again. And
Hmm.
honestly, having seen some of the older cheesy Godzillas, I'm like, I get it. I finally get it.
Yeah.
It's still not
Yeah.
100% for me, but I love it a lot more than I did before.
It's Voltron. I mean, that's all Power Rangers
In
is
a sense,
Voltron.
it's Voltron. And I think that was
Yeah.
the problem I had with it originally. It was like, you guys just ripped off Voltron, right? And they did. That's what it was.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but Voltron would kick the butt out of the Megazord from Mighty Morphin
Oh,
any
oh
all day.
yeah.
We had that talk already, yeah.
We did.
Especially if we take it to the Go Lion, where he was sentient and not piloted
Yep.
by the characters. Yeah. I'm sorry, but I'd even have to admit that the Megazord would go down.
What
Now
was
with a
funny is they put the Megazord up against Optimus Prime, and I go, "Oh, you're toast." And that's exactly how that worked out. It was like a death battle thing, and the deciding factor was the Matrix of leadership. It's thousands and thousands. Not only is Prime thousands of years old and been in battle that whole time, but the Matrix of leadership has even more eons
hmm
of knowledge that he has. Not to mention the fact that his firepower is on par, if not even better. So when you combine those two, those kids are
Hmm.
dead.
Oh
The only
yeah.
Yeah.
thing saving them is the fact that he doesn't want to kill them, right?
Right.
One shall stand, the other shall fall.
Yep.
R- Rita's like, tell me more.
Right. Right. You want to get back home to Cybertron?
I can
Right?
help.
Uh,
Exactly. No, these are all very valid points because um I feel that especially being one of those kids that you just described, I went through that and I still go through that with my mom, who will, tell me, well, why don't you sell this stuff already? Or why don't you get rid of it? Because she's tired of seeing it, which is funny because it hasn't been in their home for at least 20 years. So even when I came to where I am now for college, I hauled all of it. I hauled my
Mhm.
entire retro collection. I hauled most of my toys. And she was getting this form of like secondhand embarrassment where if somebody saw me with all this stuff, it was going to embarrass her. So she's always had this issue with, well, why does my adult son still have all this stuff? And I think it was definitely said earlier, and it's true. A lot of generations before ours were forced to give up a lot of these things. And our generation said, why should we have to? Why? If it's not affecting you, if it's not affecting me, like you said, if we're meeting our responsibilities, why does what I do affect you so much? And the things that were there for us as kids, because that's how I feel about my monsters. Those were definitely my go-to friends when everybody in the house was working and it was just me by myself. Those were my friends until I actually started going to school and making friends myself that way. So a lot of what our collections, having that nostalgia to them, there's also that sort of life-saving element to them that I think a lot of people just don't understand because they were talked into getting rid of what made them happy as kids. And they pushed that onto the newer generations. And we were sitting there like, nope, not happening. I'm sorry you gave up what you gave up or you felt like you had to, but I didn't tell you that. I didn't tell you to
Well, a
get
lot of
rid of
my
your.
collection got sold in yard sales and stuff. Mom would want to sell them in yard
Uh,
sales, and they got sold. So I had a lot of the old original Transformers. I had a lot of the Turtles and the Ghostbusters figures. I love the real Ghostbuster figures. The paint job on those and the
oh, they're so
originals.
good.
mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
so good. The chrome on the Silverhawks.
Yes.
Dude, so good.
So good.
So good.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I regret getting rid of them. So as I come back and I collect these things, I'll sometimes get nicer versions of them, like masterpiece figures for Transformers or classified for G.I. Joe, right?
Mm-hmm. Super
Those
7
are the
for
versions I want to collect. Occasionally,
Thundercats.
I'll get a
Yeah.
couple of retro original ones, right? I've got a Rocksteady sitting around here somewhere that's an OG Rocksteady that I spent about like $30 for turtles and stuff like that, and I'm happy to have him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't necessarily go out of my way to collect those again, right? So long as I have something that reminds me of that time or it seems like a good representation of what it is, for me, I'm happy with that. Now, I know a lot of people that want those OGs, and I have those those fans are great. I got no problem with those fans.
Mm-hmm.
Again, when it comes to collecting, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a football that you got signed by Joe Montana and you spent two, three, four, 5 grand on it. That's what you want to spend your money on, and you loved him as a quarterback, and you want to have that on your mantle. Great, but don't give me crap if I put a masterpiece transformer on my mantle, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
See,
I
and I
mean,
was, oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna add is like, it's funny because people frown on certain things. Like you think about like your in-laws can frown on what you collect. It's like they come over to your house and they see what you have on the wall, and it's like then they tell their daughter that's like, why do you let him do this? Because I let him do it because I don't care, you know. But
Tell it.
it's amazing how the perception of people have from like us being collectors. They think
Mm-hmm.
it's like it doesn't have a good value, even though like these things have standed the test of time. People still collect them. Uh, People may not be in it, but going into something you said about like modern versus retro, like because like that's the way I collect. I like to have some things that are OG, but like I want stuff to be a little bit more accurate to my imagination of what I saw on TV that I watched
Right.
or what I read. So that's why, like, I could collect the old O-ring G.I. Joes, but I'd rather have the classified because they look like they came out off the screen and I could put them in poses. They have better articulation. I don't have to worry about if I pose my Snake Eyes in one position that his arm may not fall off or his thumb may break or the O-ring may snap and I don't have an O-ring and I have to wait to go order it. And I don't have to worry
Mm-hmm.
about all
Yeah.
that. Because one of our friends, Ryan, he's a big collector. And he loves his vintage. He loves his modern. But like for his reasoning for what he collects is different than like what how I collect. Yeah,
Yeah.
more of my stuff is more modern. Because like the Devastator figure is so much better that came out just recently. Is so much better than the original. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
original's great and everything, but there are some minor problems with it as far as like the way the knees are. But that figure looks great. It's very sturdy. I could put it in some really dynamic poses that you couldn't ever do with the G1 Devastator.
Assuming
Mm-hmm.
the G1 Devastator would even hold its weight anymore, because as the plastic gets older,
Yeah.
it's a lot more difficult. I've even found some of my masterpiece figures that it's made me leery about getting more of them because they're really expensive. Particularly in Colorado, you have them exposed to the air. You've got them in a particular pose, and then you try to transform them, they just snap.
Yeah.
The
Mm.
plastic just snaps, dude.
Yeah.
They get super delicate. Um,
Go
and
Mats.
and to your, I've got a Devastator that's over here that's sitting here. It's a third party Devastator. It looks amazing. I don't put him in any poses. He just stands there and looks imposing, and that's what I want him to do.
Hmm.
But the one that I miss out of the originals, and I don't know if you ever remember this one, they had the normal size ones, right? Like the card back versions, but they also made a mini version. They were
I
like
think I
half the
remember that.
size or a little bit less. And I never picked those up. They were like a late addition to the lines, right? I remember
Hmm.
seeing them in like KB Toys before Toys R Us bought them and then almost pulled them out of malls as competition, right?
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and thinking about those, I'm like, man, I kind of wish I had those because that would sit on the desk and be about the size of the strength that's sitting on my desk, and just be like, mini imposing.
Yeah.
Well, and it's great about third party because you have like DNA Designs and a couple other ones that are the Crazy Davy or whatever that
Hmm.
did new third party parts for G1 Transformers. They did a set for Devastator that actually made him have working knees and ankles and
Mm-hmm.
I
I've
was
seen
like
that.
it was so cool. I just wish I would have gotten that, but I still could. But I would have loved to have gotten it when it came out because I know that those third party stuff now is very sought after. because I don't think they're doing anything anymore. At least
Well,
that
and a
E-
company.
lot of those companies will approach characters that the main company like Hasbro and all those others won't, right? Like you're not going to get like the Seacons or
All
something
right.
like that anytime soon from Hasbro. You're not necessarily going to get the Terracons anytime soon, right?
no.
I think they might have done a minor release on that, but some of the oddball combiners that came out that showed up in like one episode or something like that, that like I could see people like Zombie and Sanctum going, "Oh, that's my jam right there. That's my combiner."
Bruticus.
Yeah.
Bruticus is like one of my absolute favorite combiners.
Mm-hmm.
But you get like the Terracons and the Predacons and all those combine, and they
Yes.
Yeah.
get these wild
Abominus
forms,
and
Abominus.
Abominus and all
yeah.
those.
Yeah.
Predaking.
I can see
Yeah.
somebody just like latching right onto those and going, "That's my combiner," but they don't get the fan
Produced
service
enough.
of having
No.
those
Yes.
produced again, and
Hmm.
that's a shame.
Well, a couple years ago, they released two versions of the Seacons, but it was a store exclusive. You could not get, they were Hasbro Pulse exclusive. You couldn't get them in store.
Yeah, and those sell it so fast. They're so hard to get
Yeah.
your hands on.
And then
Mm-hmm.
they've done um oh come on, I'm trying to remember. I haven't, but they just re-released him too. The other man, my brain.
Was it the one that you and I were talking about where they finally made a combiner for the Dinobots?
They've done well,
Oh
that's
yeah,
Volcanicus, yeah. They've done that
Yeah.
one.
Volcanicus. Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
Volcanicus.
my two
Hmm.
favorite combiners as a kid were Bruticus and the aerial bots, and I'm drawing a blank on the
Superion.
name.
Yeah,
Superion.
Superion.
Superion, yeah.
Those were like my two favorites
And Vertigo,
as a
yeah.
kid.
See, I'm a sucker for you gotta have a cool name and a cool look. Bruticus for me, I mean that just sounds and he looks awesome. I love that he was like like he was the savage, like I'm gonna go up to you and pop you in the face
Hmm.
combiner. Yes, we all know who Devastator is, and he did start the popularity with combiners. Yes, he's cool. I don't like the Stunticons. They're boring. Menasor, ugh.
Minosaur is really boring design wise. It looks like you took a
Yes,
bot and you just stuck cars on it.
On
And
top
I'm
of guards
like,
on them.
exactly.
this is
Yeah.
not really creative, right? The Stunticons themselves, the individual characters, great. I think
Yes.
those are amazing. But the combined form left a lot to be desired.
Now, what was
Uh
the name of the Optimus clone? The bad guy. He's in the
oh,
Nemesis
isn't
Prime?
Scourge. Yeah, Nemesis
Scourge.
Prime Scourge.
Yes, Scourge.
Yeah.
That's the one I did like. I did find that one to be kind of cool, but I was just not digging. I didn't dig a lot of the combiners really. I ended up liking the newer ones that came out later. And
Predaking the Titan Wars
yes,
version is amazing. And they've re-released
mm-hmm.
that one just recently.
And they took forever to make the Dinobot combiner. That would have made 6 year old me crap his pants, and I probably would have sold my Super Nintendo to get that.
Dude, the
Cause
Dinobots alone were amazing, even
Yes.
as they
yes,
were. Making them a combiner was even a cooler idea. I'm like, what? Wait, this was a thought process you guys
Yeah.
had?
Hmm.
why did it take years though?
Um, man. Well, and it's sad because like we're getting we finally got the Ark. We have the Nemesis.
Yeah.
So we have both the ships from the pilot episode of Transformers, but they transform too. We got a really good Omega Supreme,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Fort Max, Metroplex. Even though the Metroplex they've only released once, but the Fort Max they've released twice, and there was a Japanese version too that came with the sword.
Or
Yeah.
did they do
Um,
two versions of Metroplex? They did the one where they got that buzzsaw thing, right? Like the
yes, that
next
was
version of him.
from Energon, I think, or
Yeah, or
Armada. One,
Armada, one of the
yeah.
two.
Hmm.
And was it
I didn't pick
Metroplex
that one up.
they
I
made
didn't
the
either.
life size one, the big bulky one that it like weighs almost like 100 pounds or something? I've seen people make YouTube shorts where they're actually combined like putting
Oh,
him
Oh, the
that's
twelve
together.
the
hundred dollar one. Yeah, no, I
yes.
Yeah.
won't buy that one.
I would love to
Oh
I
have
saw
my
that
some
one.
videos on
gosh.
that, and while I could afford it, and it, yeah, I'll just admit I can afford that. You guys see, I've got self transforming Optimus behind me,
I know.
Yeah.
and
I'm drooling
Grimlock,
at
and
Grimlock.
I've got Megatron in another room, and Bumblebee's over here on the floor because I don't have a good place to put him right now. Soundwave's coming in April, right? So I can afford this
My
guy, but
gosh.
where do I put him? One, he's
Yeah,
too big to
that's my problem. Where would I
where
put
do I
him?
put him?
I don't have
And
room in my
two, he's
house.
prone to break because he's so big, and you can only make the plastic so good.
Right.
Hmm.
and make it at that price point. So I've got to imagine the plastic's not the best,
Yeah.
And
right?
got
For
to give it
long
to
term.
GoBots. They were metal.
I actually, a lot of the early Transformers were metal as well. I had a Hound and a bunch of others that were like that metal, almost lead kind of,
Mm,
Yeah.
and the larger ones, the $20 original ones, a lot of those were metal.
The Super
Now the
GoBots.
inexpensive ones
yes,
were
the Super
not; those were
GoBots
plastic.
were plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing I didn't like about GoBots is I thought the design needed more work, right? I loved how affordable they were. They were still fun to play with. They're still basically transforming toys, right? I still enjoyed them. Don't get me
There's
wrong.
just simple.
Yeah, and even with the show, even going back and watching the show, I can go, I totally get why Transformers kicked the piss out of this. Like, I get it. The story was more solid, the character design, the detail to the transformation and everything was more solid. There was a lot more going on in the show than there was the GoBot show, and the fact
Yeah.
that they came out so close together and had to compete was the problem, right?
Hmm.
That was
That
the big problem.
there was no cartoon for
Yeah.
GoBots originally.
No, not
And
when it originally came out.
yeah, because originally the Japanese version was called
Jo
come on, Machine Robo.
Machine Robo. Yeah.
And they didn't even get a
They started
cartoon until
re-releasing
88.
those too, by the way, under the
Yes.
Machine Robo name.
That's
Hmm.
what the leader one here is.
Yep.
And even Transformers released some of the figure. They didn't release the characters, but they started coming calling them GoBots,
Yes.
which
Those
I
little
thought
bitty
was
Yeah.
cars
so
that
was
transform.
so confusing. I'm like, no, they're two separate lines
Um man, we could definitely do a Transformers podcast, but
for sure.
let's well
I feel like we need to continue on with the questions, though.
yes,
I can
yes,
talk
yes.
Transformers and GoBots for hours
Yeah.
easily.
Yes, because I'm definitely I'm bigger GoBots fan. I have like the books on tape and everything, but
I like
um
them both. I like
Yeah,
them
I
yeah,
do
both.
too.
I did too. I raised the notion of accessibility shaping your interest in your collection because it really was in my neighborhood, it was really easier to find GoBots than it was Transformers.
Yeah, I could see that.
You maybe saw one or two on a shelf. And if it was there, it wouldn't last long. It wasn't until Gen 2 came out that you started seeing more and more on the pegs versus the G1 line. Um,
Part of that was
but
because you could find them at drugstores like Eckerd's
yes,
and Walgreens and
Yeah.
hmm
Kroger. I mean, any grocery store.
That's when I remember getting GoBots because you go into a grocery store, you go
you
into
could see them
a
there.
pharmacy store, and they'd be there, and they're like, "Hey,
Hmm.
mom, can I have this one?" It's like $5 or less. It's an easy grab.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stark brought up something that I kind of want to, since we're all seeming to be really passionate about Transformers. Stark brought up something that I want to tailor this kind of back to, where he mentioned the role playing aspect of some toy lines. Like I know for a fact I wanted a proton pack as a kid. I never got one. My cousin Tim got one. He had that. Always made me play with the PKE. I could never play with the damn uh, backpack. I did get the gun that has the foam plasma beam and you stick it in there and you rotate it like a chain gun and it just looks like you're shooting the electron beam.
Nice.
So that was cool and he wanted to play with that and I'm like, "No, because you didn't let me use your proton pack, jerk." Um
That's fair. I feel like that's
Yeah.
fair.
That's fair. Yeah, I agree.
And so when he mentioned that, I started thinking about all the toy lines that either didn't have a direct role play set or just had that playability factor where, like you guys said, we came up with our own storylines. We came up with our own crossovers. Now toy companies are doing that. He-Man Transformers, He-Man Ninja Turtles. I'm sitting here going, what the hell, guys? Where was this when we were growing up, you know? And so my question is, when it comes to your favorite toy lines, whether it was in the past or even now, did you find that part of the appeal of having those specific lines or just these toys in general? Having that appeal is what also why you gravitated towards them? Were you looking for specific role play lines? Were you looking for just the lines that you saw on TV and had the exposure to? Or was it just something very specific to those toy lines that you wanted because I'll throw another one in there. I was heavily addicted to the Kenner Alien lines. And I still have some of my I still have the Hive play set, I have the power loader. All I really wanted was the Queen Alien, Ripley, and a power loader. That's all I wanted, but I got the other ones eventually. So I loved being able to reenact the movie, but then also do my own thing with them and kind of like, well, I wonder how this would have played out if they did encounter these toys. So, with your collections, do you feel that they're unique to you for one particular reason or a series of reasons, or is it just because you just happen to see them and you just like them simply because of that?
I can start with this one. One of the ones that I had that didn't have any kind of show or anything else, and I was never into car collecting, like Hot Wheels or anything. Micro Machines.
Yes,
Loved Micro Machines. Had
this is
tons of
micro
Micro
Shigeaki.
Machines, and those were great, partially because of the portability of them. You could bring a lot of them, and they almost had their own little carrying case. They would be their own little set that you can open up and you could play with it, and then you could combine them into that. And it didn't make a huge mess for like mom and dad, right, when you were traveling. But to your other question of doing your own stories and own narratives, I mean, Leader One and Optimus Prime are buddies in my house. I mean, why not? I
Yeah.
mean, to go back to that, you know, the Ghostbusters might, help Prime fight off Megatron one day, because why not? You know, the fact that we now have a transforming Ecto One is just icing on the cake, right?
Michael, I mean,
So that's
Kit.
that's another one of those combining things, right?
Yeah.
Where you've combined these different series that we all played with as kids, and honestly, that's the kind of freedom in creative why not that I feel like has been kind of lost on the younger generations because they spend more time behind screens. They don't spend enough time thinking about their own narratives or the way things have been handed to them and explained to them is it's all very spoon fed. It goes here, 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 and here, and things go in this order. There's no gaps for them to make their own narrative and to make their own fun with it outside
Hmm.
of some stuff like Minecraft and things like that, where it's all just open to make your own fun. I think that's why maybe they gravitate towards open world games and stuff like that more so than ours.
More game
Whereas I
creation.
like structure and narrative and a story, they just want some place to have fun where they're not told everything. They're not
Yeah.
told what to do, right? Whereas we grew up that way. So the structure in certain things is nice, right?
It's just crazy that they wouldn't apply that to the toys of today. Like you would think that, oh, if you're looking for that kind of creativity and control, wouldn't you want to gravitate towards toys? Wouldn't you think they would?
I think they're too expensive.
They're too expensive. It's 100%. They're too expensive.
And they can't even afford space. Like the younger generations can barely afford rent. They can't afford decent housing. And collecting requires space.
Hmm.
You need space.
The struggle is real. Yep.
Something I'll add is the fact that, like, you know, with both parents working, it's even worse now because maybe you're having to work two or three jobs, and you just don't have the luxury to buy all this extra stuff for your kids, which goes back into that whole pricing thing. But it also is the fact that, like, remember how they used to joke that we were the TV generation. We watch TV and
Yeah.
we're like, our parents use TVs as babysitters, but it's like parents now use smartphones for their
Yes.
And
kids
tablets.
as
Hmm.
tablets
Unfortunately.
as their pacification. And so they're not there. They're not there to play with them. They're not there to engage in their imagination. They don't do anything to help them grow like our parents did or people of influence in our lives did.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and to go back to our conversation of before we kind of started the podcast of how simplified technology is and how little creative and analytical thinking that you need to operate in society today, right?
mhm.
Comes back from as we were growing up and all this new technology was coming in that you had to figure it out. You didn't really have any options. It was all new. None of it was simplified. You didn't just unplug something and plug it back in and have it work again. You didn't just pull up a tablet and have an app or download it from the store or something like that. You had to go to the different sites and find it and install it
Right.
and troubleshoot it. And a lot of that forced not only analytical thinking, but creative thinking,
Hmm.
thinking on your feet, thinking dynamically about something and applying that to another problem. And a lot of that comes down to our imagine play when we're growing up and the cartoons that we had in the open areas and all that. All this stuff kind of combines into this amalgam of adaptability that a lot of generations
Hmm.
before and post either didn't develop because they had regimented rules or the the simplification of the technology and the introduction of more roles in society that have kind of come post, right? So we're in this
Mhm.
weird of like nobody really gave a crap. So we had this unique mindset moving forward in life, right? I feel like.
What about you, sir?
I was sitting here thinking, like, I think role play parts of toys does play a good eye grab for kids. I was sitting here thinking, like, I think for me, when I was collecting Power Rangers, like the Morpher, that was kind of like the Holy Grail, right? Like everyone wanted that and the Power
I
Blaster. Um,
don't know if you can see that. There we go.
yeah. Hey, that's
Yep.
going for a pretty penny now. And they had gloves, that you put on and you hit
The
the little
chopping
buttons.
gloves.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so as a kid, that's going to grab your attention. That's going to grab your eyes. And so like that does play a major part because going back to Ghostbusters, I was talking to you about the you said the one where you turn the little wand and the beam comes out, but then there's the one that has the projector, where the
Yeah.
ghost is on the wall.
There's also the popper, the
The
photon
little
popper.
The popper,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so like that again, you get to relive the action. Now that's you in the action with Ninja Turtles. You get two sides, some swords, a stick, and some nunchucks and a bandana. You're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and some of our toys, at least for me, you had to get creative for yourself because when Gargoyles came out, they never had the castle, or at least I never saw the castle. So I take the Ghostbuster house, put a Fisher Price castle on top of it. I'm good to go. That's where the gargoyles
Yeah.
live now.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I do feel like we had to get a little more imaginative with our toys and what we did and what we did with them instead of just saying this is a toy, this is how you play with it. That's it.
Yeah, like action figures gave us something that was less formulaic. We could actually sit there and like take them to school or take them to a friend's house. Like, oh, well, the Ninja Turtles are going to beat up the Cobras today or something like that.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
back then, that would kind of be like they've never met before. Like, you'd have sometimes you'd have those conversations with your friends like that would never happen. Here we are 20, 30 years later, and now we've got crossovers galore
Hmm.
and really taking a tug on our nostalgia and heartstrings. um but I've always wondered that too, like why was I so into one particular element of this toy line versus a different one that was mostly action figure oriented? Because going back to what I said about Aliens, I love the movie franchise, and Alien 3 was just about to come out. That was supposed to be the big, the new blockbuster and what have you. But I loved that toy line. And then when I found out that that was created because we were supposed to get
The cartoon.
the
Yeah.
cartoon, I was so mad when I found out that got canned. But then I went back to an episode of X-Men. Um, I believe it's one of the Phoenix Saga episodes. There is a shot where you see like this whole group of race of aliens, and there's a flippin' xenomorph there. And I always wondered as a kid, why are they showing that? Because it was supposed to tie into the cartoon we never got.
Hmm.
So I sat back and was just like, man, I wonder if this is how the kids who went to go see Transformers the movie felt when all of a sudden you see all your favorites getting blasted just to make room for new toys that nobody asked for.
It's still too soon, man. It's
So
still
yeah,
too
yeah,
soon.
so soon. It took me years of my own personal therapy of watching the scene of Prime dying over and over again until I became desensitized by it because I would still cry.
Oh,
And
But
then
everything.
40 years later, they're like, we're doing the apology tour. Lies.
right,
Lies.
right, lies. Um,
But everything about that scene really did tug at your heartstring, though. I
yeah,
mean, for me, I'll say it, it didn't hit me as bad. It didn't. Not because I hate Optimus or I hate the Autobots. I am Team Decepticon because I mean, you've got the fighter jets. Enough said. Um,
Seekers. Yeah,
Seekers.
yeah, yeah.
But when I think back on all those important moments like Optimus Prime dying, like Duke dying, even though they edited that Duke's gonna be okay. No, he's not. He's dead. Uh, and you learn about those decisions they make about, well, let's kill off some of these characters and introduce these new ones and try to profit off that. And does that play a factor in how you treasure your collections now? Does that play a factor in going back and revisiting those lines or even revisiting, those toys? Like, is there less of a pull because you're reminded about how they affected your past growing up negatively? Or is the positive influence greater than that for you all?
I don't think I've
Go
ever
for it.
had anything that was killed by something that happened related to it. Like, unless it would have been maybe something where I lost a family member, that was tied to something I enjoyed, and it's too hard to associate that toy line with that family member's loss. Um,
Hmm.
that's the only thing I can think of. I've never had that happen. Um, but I've never like I've always still loved everything I loved when I was a kid. Um, but I've always wondered, like, does it affect like going back a little bit with the fact that one of the big things for us, influence wise, we had Saturday morning cartoons.
Yes.
And then the government went in and tried to basically remove like cereal and cartoon commercials or toy commercials because we can't sell to kids.
Yeah.
And they
Can't
removed
market.
Saturday, they moved away from Saturday morning cartoons, which we don't have, which is one of those things where you were either with your friends, your family, watching these cartoons on Saturday. It was an event. And we don't
Hmm.
have those events anymore for our kids.
Nope.
It was one of those things that, like, I remember we'd get up early and we'd start watching the cartoons with my dad, and it was just like one of those things we spent that time together. Like, so, like, we don't really have things in society that allow us to be able to have that unique bond with our kids unless
Right.
you make it yourself. You have to do it yourself. It was like one of those things. It was like it was a given. Um, but I don't think I've ever had anything in my life be affected by something that makes me not like a toy or a video game or anything like that, unless the writing's bad. Like Disney Star Wars, ruining Star Wars, my favorite.
Yeah.
But I won't get into that rant.
Because you've heard it before among fans, like after it got to this game, I was done with the franchise.
Yeah,
After it got to this season, I was done with the franchise. After it got to this toy line, I was done. I don't want anything to do with anything new, and I'm curious about that because again, we're talking about something that really is tied to our growing up in the time that we did and based on the circumstances to which we did, and these items having such a significant value to us, more than just a financial value that
hmm
people nowadays would never understand, and probably people within our own demographic who gave up a lot of what they were convinced into getting rid of growing up would never understand either. Or maybe they do, and that's why the yearn to go backwards is so potent with them because we never left,
yeah.
technically speaking. We
I feel like there's something to this, and hear me out on this a little bit. I feel like a lot of this comes down to, even if you're like, it got to this point and I'm done, that doesn't really invalidate the things that you liked before,
Correct.
in
hmm
my mind, right?
Hmm.
You just stop at this point. Past this, okay, it exists. It's not for me.
right.
What I don't like is people attacking or downtrodden on what came after because it's not for them.
Correct.
hmm
Well, just because you don't resonate with it doesn't mean it doesn't resonate with a generation,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, like some of the newer ones, like I know a lot of people didn't like Transformers animated. I loved it.
Yeah, it's good.
I thought the toys lined up perfectly with the show. I thought the simplistic lines and the angles that they were able to work into the toys and still make them look identical to the show. That was like that was kind of peak, right? And that was one of the newer ones that came out that I'm like, oh my god, this is so good. And they've
Right.
ruined them in recent releases because they've made them smaller. They've not really made the dimensions as good,
Some
and
don't
it's
even
kind of a
really
bummer.
transform. They're automatic. Yeah.
Right. But that when those hit, that reminded me so much and resonated so much of original G1, but the toys were identical to the show. The colors were bright, the plastic was good, the transformation was clean and fun and looked great in both modes. And that's what you want out of a line like that, right? And so I feel like even if you tapped out here, you can always check in somewhere else.
Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
is the reason
Yeah.
of that tangent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like you're not going to vibe with every version of Transformers or every version of Star Wars. But that
Hmm.
doesn't mean that even though most of Star Wars that's come out like in the last, well, since Kathleen Kennedy, and I'm not going to go any deeper than that, has not really been, especially for me,
Hmm.
it doesn't mean that if a show comes along, like Mandalorian
The
season one,
man.
season two, I thought was great.
Yep.
Season three, I thought was a mess and started kind of ruining it. I don't have much interest in seeing the movie with them as a result of that. I just feel like they don't have a good idea for that story that would resonate with me.
hmm
But that doesn't mean it doesn't deserve to exist and it doesn't have a fandom that doesn't need to be catered to. Let
Right.
them
Hmm.
have their thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of Turtles right now. Unfortunately, we were supposed to get the last Ronin movie. That got scrapped. They want to do another movie, but it's going to be more kid family friendly. And it's like at some point you want to give the audience, especially the older version, a film for themselves. You don't have to
Yeah.
be like, I'm going to cater everything to this new audience only. Then you're alienating the fan base, which is what Star Wars, Disney, Star Wars did. Is that
Yes.
they couldn't tell a story that could encapsulate a new generation and keep the old ones in line
Mm.
because in the movies were the 7, 8, 9 were literally that, but Mando came out, it was great. Rebels had come out before the and that was a really good show.
Rebels was great.
Yeah.
they
Rebels was
I
finished
liked
awesome.
Rebels.
Hmm.
they finished the Clone Wars. We got Andor. Rogue One was great, but
Those are great.
that was about it. I mean, they tried something new with the Skeleton Crew, but it wasn't my thing. It wasn't Star Wars to me.
Yeah.
And
And I feel like
then
Star Trek's gone that direction too. And Star
yes.
Trek is a unique example, and it kind of ties into what you're saying. Is this is one where you could take the older generation of Star Trek fans that have been loyal with them for like since original Gene Roddenberry OG, because like my main vibe was TNG. That
TNG.
was when I was a
Hmm.
Hmm.
kid. That was more my Trek, right? But I still went back and watched the original OG Trek and adore it. It's still
Right.
amazing. It's still groundbreaking. I still
Hmm.
love it.
Hmm.
And even some of the ones that I don't love, like DS9, which I know is considered sacrilege, or Voyager, which most people are kind of on the fence with,
Month on that one.
still
Eh,
Yeah.
have moments that I enjoy, right? And Enterprise, I thought was amazing. I thought it was a great re envisioning of an early era. But all those had something that could pull in the old Trek fans while still kind of delivering something new. And I feel like they could have done that with New Trek, where they could have respected the older material a little bit better, or at least made it feel a little bit more like intellectual sci fi, like Star Trek is, and still pull in a new audience instead of doing all this just oh my God, I don't even know what it is. Like it looks
Yeah.
like Star Trek, but it's not. To me, it's not Star Trek. It's something else with a veneer of Star Trek and
Yeah.
using
Mm-hmm.
the name, but it's not Star Trek. It's not doing anything that's Star Trek like, right?
Orville was more Star Trek
Orville was a
than
Yes.
great.
anything
Oh yeah.
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Orville totally works.
Yeah.
But that's because Seth loved Star Trek. And
Yes.
so when you have a creator and a team that loves and respects the old material, and Seth was on a couple episodes of Star Trek,
Hmm.
so he had hands-on experience with them on set. Um, that will work in that kind of thing and make it something different on its own, and still tell narratives that fit in today's society, but do it from a Star Trek viewpoint. That's exactly what they should have been aiming for, something closer to Orville rather than what we got, right? In
Hmm.
my mind, anyway. Because you still could have gotten a new audience with that
Yep.
easily.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still hoping for a Galaxy Quest 2 or a Galaxy Quest TV show. I would love to
Oh,
see that.
God. Galaxy Quest is so good. I love that
Yep.
movie so
I love
much.
that movie.
But that
Um,
also, sorry,
Go ahead. Go ahead,
that
Sir.
goes back to something else that you were talking about with cartoons. It gave, a life lesson or a moral lesson. That's how Star Trek was, the TV show, the original. There's a planet where, they may be racist and they kill each other, or, they look down on women or look down on something. Um, and there was a life lesson to learn. If you don't grow, you will fail, right? But now
Right.
I feel like now they want to tell a story or have an agenda, but we're going to put that name on there so you'll be more likely to watch it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
It's
And
like,
the.
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well,
Finish it off.
it just makes me think because like the newest Star Trek, that was it, Starfleet Academy. Hadn't even seen it yet, but I've heard review bombs after review
Yeah.
bombs.
Same.
This is not Star Trek. I don't know
Hmm.
what this is, and it scares me.
Since Stark has brought up Ghostbusters, I remember being so alone when Extreme Ghostbusters hit. I loved that cartoon. I thought it was
I never
edgier.
got to watch much of that one. It looks cool.
It's
It
Mm.
good.
it is. It was edgier, it was grittier, it was darker. It
Hmm.
was getting towards where I think the first movie was in terms of tone, and I loved it. But a lot of fans were saying, "No, that's not Ghostbusters to me. If it's not if it's not Winston, Egon,
Egon
Ray, Peter,
Race.
then that's not Ghostbusters to me." So unfortunately, they cut themselves off for what could have been a unique opportunity in its own. And they did have throwbacks to the original characters. Egon is still in it, Janine is still in it. The original guys come in eventually, plus
Hmm.
the return of some villains like Sawin and uh who was it? I think it was the Sandman or one of the Boogeyman.
I think Boogeyman.
And then they had the episode that was definitely Hellraiser inspired. You
Yeah.
would
Didn't they
never
have a
get away with
paraplegic
that.
Ghostbuster in that one?
Yeah,
Which I
Yeah.
thought
it
Yeah.
was kind of
was.
unusual. But honestly, if you could make it work, then again, who cares?
And it
You
did.
know?
It did. He worked. He wasn't just like the oh, feel bad for me character. No, he demonstrated that being in the wheelchair was a part of who he was. That's not all he was.
Hmm.
That's a well-written character
And I
that a
feel
lot
like
of
that's
franchises are
lost.
missing. Yes.
Yes.
You have so much of just a single facet of a character that's all that character is now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's frustrating. And I think it's especially frustrating from our generation. Let me pose a question to you guys. How much of feeling like you kind of had to mature at a more rapid rate because you didn't have parents around and you just kind of had to figure stuff out,
Absolutely.
um,
Yeah.
is a
For
lot of what formulated what you gravitated towards, right?
Hmm.
I would say
And
so.
what you love and why you cling to a lot of it anyway, right? Because we've talked about some of it being like some of it for me is just it's kind of a bastion, right? It's the stuff that I loved when I was a kid, right? So I'm going to go back to that as I have free time. I'm still going to embrace some new stuff, but I don't see any reason to leave that stuff behind so long as I
Hmm.
can still
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
But
say
Well,
I went through a parentification process growing up because I had to take on adult responsibilities when I shouldn't have had to. I should have been
yeah,
able to go outside and play with my He-Man toys, play with my Stomper trucks. I should have been out there in the mud recreating G.I. Joe battles, but I didn't get that luxury after a while. And so playing with toys or playing with my video games became more of an escape than usual,
Hmm.
and it's
hmm
one of those activities that I had to schedule in like I would an appointment. Like I had to get all my responsibilities out of the way first before I even allowed myself to even hold a toy, let alone sit there and reenact a movie scene or a battle. And I carry that with me even to this day, unfortunately.
I was about to say
I
I do much the same thing. I wake up and I have a list of stuff I need to do before I can take a break and enjoy something, and then at
mhm.
some point I have to stop, take care of other things,
Hmm.
and then I can come back and enjoy those things again.
hmm
Yeah.
hmm
That's why we talk about having backlogs when it
Oh yeah.
comes to shows we need to see or catch up on, movies we need to watch, um, toys that we or games that we want to pick up and play. I officially, for the first time ever in my life, have a gaming backlog of games that I have yet to even touch because I can't sit down and make that time for myself. Even when I took
hmm
a day off or two for vacation, legitimate vacation, to the point that my boss is begging me to take time off because I looked terrible, I felt exhausted. I was still producing, but she could tell you need a break from work. And the only time I ever really do that, in all honesty, is when we have the big Game On convention in Phoenix, which I couldn't make this year. So it's like I got robbed of my own vacation and my own birthday celebration on top of that. So
Yeah.
even when I took time off to just relax, I don't even know what that is anymore.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm still doing everything else first that I need to before I can even sit down and, oh yeah, that's right. I bought a pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards that I haven't even opened yet because they're still, I haven't had the time to do it. Um, I have Texas Chainsaw Massacre for PS5 that's still in the plastic because I haven't sat down and played that. And, just all these different responsibilities and time crunches that I find myself in. And when I look at the stuff on my shelf, I don't say it makes me feel bad because I held on to it, but I do feel bad because I don't get to have fun with it anymore, at least for the time being.
Yeah. Well, and I think to tie this back to the whole collecting thing is sometimes just having it on the shelf is enough.
Yes.
You look at it like I'll look over and I've got my Predaking and my Devastator and I've got a
Oh.
Bushido Scarlet that's sitting over here and stuff. And I'm like, I'm glad I have that on my shelf. It's nice. It reminds me of nice things,
Hmm.
right? So you surround yourself with, and a lot of people would say this is a negative thing with stuff, right? But it's not necessarily the stuff. It's the memories from a simpler time. It's a way to have a microsecond of escape to a time where you didn't have as much pressure, as much responsibilities. You don't have to think, oh God, what happens if this job falls through, or what happens with this particular bill, or how am I going to get Billy or Bobby through college, or whatever, right?
Hmm.
You can
Right.
take a brief micro step and go, that was a cool time.
hmm
And
It's
then
a
you
reminder.
refocus. Then
Yeah.
you refocus and you do what you need to do.
Hmm.
Although I will say one of the worst hobbies to get into ever.
I never got into Funkos. I never got into Funko. That was not my
If
jam.
if we have
I was a Mighty Mugs guy, and when Funkos
Oh
yes,
went out,
yes.
I was bummed.
I was bummed too when Mighty Muggs died because I so wanted Snake Eyes and Soundwave and never got him. I do have my Wolverine Mighty Mug somewhere, but yeah.
My first I have the complete set of the Big Trouble in Little China one, so I had to get
Has
That's
these.
such a good movie. I love that
Yes.
movie so
Yes.
much.
has Pops become the modern day Beanie Babies?
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Dude, I have so many fond memories of Beanie Baby collecting. I did some of that as a kid too. My mom was big into it.
hmm
And so there were times where we get up at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to go stand in line. I remember one time we drove like an hour to a mall, because they were going to have the selection of Beanie Babies. And so everybody got there like super early, like 6 a.m. The mall didn't open until like 9. And we're all like lined up in the mall. And the security guards just throwing a fit, trying to keep everybody in line and everything like that. We're like, dude, we're in line. It's cool. It's Beanie Babies. It's not like a war zone or anything. And we're all just talking about which ones are going to collect. And mom's having a good time and laughing. Probably probably the second nicest time I had with my mom. The other one was a baseball game I went to with her and her grandmother, and that's that's a different story. But it was a nice event to do with my mom, right? And that's the
Hmm.
kind of stuff that you can get with some of this stuff sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is not
Yeah,
necessarily about the stuff. It's about everything else.
Hmm.
and that's how I bridged my collecting with my grandparents because my grandmother did collect Beanie Babies, and so like you said, we would go on these little adventures to try to find certain ones or obtain them. So that's memories between me and her that we can bridge that gap of why do I still have all my old toys? Why do I still have these things? Because there's memories attached to them. There's fondness attached to them. There's as an adult, you look back and at like you said, simpler times, better times
Yep.
that I wish that kids could enjoy today.
Hmm.
That's
That's why
my thing.
I want my son to maintain that part of him as long as possible. He's getting persuaded at school by his friends to kind of drop what they consider baby things, which is his Thomas the Train fandom. And I sit there and I say, kiddo, look at my room, okay? Look at every collection that I have in existence, my movies, my soundtracks, my vinyl, my toys, and my video games. If I listened to anybody other than myself, do you really think I'd have any of this? Do you think I would have this to share with you, more importantly? I
Hmm.
said, your fandom is not hurting anybody. Your fandom is not, affecting the world negatively. If your friends or people at school think that liking this is childish, let them.
Yep.
Let them. Because there's always a reason for why they feel that way. I mean, maybe they could just be asshole kids for all I know, but there's got to be a link to that we even saw as we grew up and our parents were telling us to get rid of childish things and whatnot. So I want him to maintain that as long as possible because I want him to teach his kids, should he have any, that same thing. I want them to have that too because I see how much it makes him happy. As long as he gets his schoolwork done, gets his chores done, go crazy, And he impresses the hell out of me with some of his track designs that he does. So I encourage him to have that, to keep that fandom. This is probably one of my best pickups ever. The Gargoyles Goliath figure based on the Sega Genesis cart with the Sega Genesis design box.
Hmm.
Um, I finally know what it feels like to be one of you collectors after I picked that up. Because I I didn't go into Ross thinking I was gonna find anything, and then all of a sudden I was starting to find all this cool stuff before the end of the Christmas rush, and
Hmm.
I'm still kicking myself, Vince, because I knew I should have picked up those Tekken figures for you.
It's
Um,
okay. It's okay.
and I should have picked up another Slaughter like the one you sent me, because then
Hmm.
I could have one out for display, and then I could have the other one on
Yep.
my wall.
I love a lot of NECA's artistic designs for their characters.
Hmm.
I love almost every IP they get. And it makes me so angry because they make such trash figures.
Hmm.
I'm just gonna say it. Their stuff is it's expensive garbage. I have over here a Nightmare Before Christmas Santa Jack in his Christmas suit. He looks just like the movie. Even on his stand, he cannot stand. His legs are narrow just like they are in the movie. His feet are super tiny. They gave him a stand that's barely as wide as his damn feet as his stand to stand him on. He can't stand. He
Hmm.
literally can't stand. And they've had other figures like that. And like they're poor distribution
Oh yeah.
of their animated line and everything. Everything about them makes me angry. And people get that's one of the reasons I stopped doing the Geeks with Cash channel because people got so defensive when I review those and give their figures shit. They're like, "Oh, well, you just need to soak it in water for 2 hours and then you can move the joints." I'm like,
Shouldn't have to.
"What
Yeah, you
the
Should not
shouldn't
have to
hell?
have
do that.
to.
Why do I need to soak my figure in water for 2 hours to be able to move it like it should move out of the box?"
Right.
Yeah.
No, no,
Hmm.
that's terrible.
I
A few,
understand. I understand like the spider gremlin that like to pop the legs into the thing, you had to soften the plastic. That was fine for initial
I
setup.
got those in, and that figure looks great, and he stands great, and he just sits there and stands.
Hmm.
That one's great.
But it was perfect. But like,
It's tough to get those in. Not gonna lie,
yeah.
that's hard.
Hmm. But I get you because it's like I should not have to do that with any of my figures. But I still love NECA because they do certain things that is really good, like especially like their 8-inch figures where they have the cloth, like they did the Nada and Frank from They Live. They've done the other They Live figures. They've done what I mean, there's been a bunch of them that they've done, and I like that size.
Yeah.
And but we don't get them as much. But the
No, when
alien,
they nail something, they nail something. But there's their QC is a problem. Like some of those animated figures from the Turtles one, to go back to that, every now and then, like there's enough paint that it's not that big of a deal. But sometimes you'll see paint flecks come off when you're moving them in a
mm-hmm.
joint. There's
Yep.
still paint on that part of the joint, but they put too much paint on it, and that's why it doesn't move.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
right. Because
ah,
I love Back to the Future, but the reviews for those figures were so bad on breakage, like out of the box breakage. I passed them up. I couldn't
hmm
with a good
hmm
conscience buy them.
I got all of them, but like the only one I have out of the box is Biff. My wife's teasing. Um, and he can't stand. Like he's another one of the ones that like he just won't stand. And like I had to buy a pack of the NECA stands to put him on there. But even then, he'd still like would slump over, and it's like, what's wrong with this? So it's like, okay, what am I gonna do to be able to get him to stand? I'm gonna have to put like some clear nail polish on there on his legs to get him just to stand, so his legs don't, his hips and ankles don't fall over.
or
And
you
you
can
know,
use
That's
some of that. They have like this putty cement stuff you can use.
Hmm.
That's like putty, but when you put it in there, it dries and it stiffens. You
Okay.
can use that on the bottom of the feet to try to stand them, just to get his feet to stand.
Hmm.
But again, these are weird, stupid solutions to a problem that shouldn't exist in
That
the
shouldn't
first
yeah,
exist.
place.
right.
Exactly.
exactly.
It shouldn't be a
Exactly.
problem,
Yeah.
That's kind of
particularly when you're
that's
paying those price points.
Hmm.
which brings me to a point I wanted to make about, being kind of like the newborn collector among all you guys. Because I'm definitely entering this scene a lot later in the game than I would have wanted to. And I think that a lot of the reason why I am now is because my primary collecting market, video games, has kind of hit a dead end. Um, I'm not finding what I'm looking for in stores. I'm not finding what I'm looking for online at a reasonable price. There's a lot of factors that are shifting me away from video game collecting towards toy collecting. And sometimes I'll make that call and I'm just like, you know what? I'll be glad to throw down, whatever the price that they're asking for that, because at least I come home with something and it is something that I still want. And maybe I just couldn't get it at the time. And Vince has been a very big influence when it comes to NECA collecting because he's always talking about the new product lines that come out. When you did that big box unboxing, the mystery one,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. When they were doing the liquidation of their backstock.
the randomized, like you
Yeah.
get $200 worth of stuff for $50 or whatever the price point is.
Hmm.
Like I actually was considering that because it would be a cool way for me to kind of catch up where everybody has already taken the lead on. Not that I'm competing with anybody, but I see the joy and amazement that you guys all put into toy collecting in the same way that I do with video game collecting. So it's actually cool to be a part of that scene, even though I'm just a newborn. Um, and one of the luxuries that I've had is when it comes to toy collecting, I don't really have the FOMO
Hmm.
And I don't have that even with modern video gaming. Like I see all you guys streaming Requiem, and I'm like, I'm gonna put the video up, but I'm not gonna watch 100% because I want to play this myself. But I'm gonna give you the viewing hours, you know.
Yeah.
Or, I might put the stream up and I'm taking care of my son and doing all my other, household responsibilities. So when I luck out by going to a Ross and I know what the original price point on something like this is, and then you see, Ross's price point, so I feel a little bit better about picking it up, at a discounted rate. And I keep in mind a lot of the things that you all talk about. Some
Hmm.
figures have this issue with being able to pose them or stand them up or the cheap paint flaking off and all that stuff. So I've gotten a little choosy about that, but it's more so just what I have available to me at that time. So what I want to kind of bring it to, with that being established, would you say that modern technology, the internet, YouTube reviews, YouTubers, all the things that are associated with influencing the video game market, do you feel that's what's happening with the toy collecting scene? Do you guys find yourselves in predicaments like that where you have to be, you kind of have to pay closer attention to things before they hit the YouTube scene? Are you checking out online sources regularly? Because I know that you check out Big Bag Toys,
Hmm.
Vince, a lot, and you've always referred them to me whenever something I
Yes.
would be interested in
Yep.
is going to have, but I'll probably not be able to afford it unless I sold the kidney. Um, so I'm curious as to what sort of things that you all are noticing, whether they're the same or different in the toy collecting scene that you would with other markets, like the video game market, or because Stark and I play Yu-Gi-Oh, the trading card market.
I find myself in a weird situation on this one because there's times where I'll watch reviews of certain toys, and there's times where I just don't check out that part of YouTube at all. And I just kind of look at it as go, because sometimes and it's especially hard when the figures are expensive, right? When you start looking at figures like Figma figures and stuff like that that run 70, $80, it's a little harder to start pulling the trigger and figure out which ones of those are good, which one of those are bad as far as companies go. Because what I find is, and this has kind of come full circle a little bit, Figma and Reveltech and all those started as kind of like the blue ribbon for articulation and accessories and things like that, right?
Hmm.
They had the most. You could get more cool poses. Figmas were a little bit better because the joints were a little bit less noticeable, so it looked a little bit more natural when you pose things, and you have these weird jagged edges or anything that you often get with Revoltech figures. But sometimes you just don't get a particular character in any other way, so you pick up that figure, right? And then Hasbro and all them have really done a good job on a more budget scale, more budget conscious scale of giving you enough of those fun things to have with your figure that maybe you don't spend as much money anymore, right? But I don't generally let social media or YouTube influence what I'm buying. It's more what I'm into. And I don't, and one of the things I'd recommend to you as a new collector, as a side note, is don't get fixated on having everything of a particular line, especially today, because it's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The way they do the New York Comic Con ones and San Diego Comic Con ones,
the
and the numbers are all
exclusives.
out of order. One of my biggest frustrations with G.I.Joe Classified is the numbering system because I'm going to have, there's no way I can afford them all now. They make too many in a year. And even when I could afford all of them and they weren't making as many, there were huge gaps in my number system because figures that popped, that came and went and disappeared, never heard a peep about them. Matter of fact, I missed one of them from Mondo that I'm hoping will come back. There's a Janine figure behind her desk, and I forgot to order her, and now she's gone. So now my Mondo's Ghostbusters collection may be incomplete, or I may have to pay an astronomical sum for her to have her in my collection, and that's incredibly frustrating. Um, so and she's one I do want, right? Because
Hmm.
that pulls the rest of the characters together because then he can stand around the desk and talk to her and you can do that scene, right? She's
Right.
She's kind of a pivotal character. So I'm probably going to end up paying a ridiculous price on the secondhand market for her when she comes out. Now, just because that's where my brain's going to go. And there's times where that's fine, so long as it doesn't, again, as long as it doesn't hurt your other finances, right? As long as it's not affecting. One of the things that I did with me and my wife when we first got together is we set aside fund money between the two of us. So I have a like an allowance account that I put money into out of our paychecks, and she does the same thing. And like 98% of our cash goes into our joint fund to pay all our bills and to do any of the stuff we need. But this is the money that we get to go and do stupid stuff with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I want to spend a ton on this character, so long as it's within that budget, it's okay, right? Because that's the money I've set aside to do stuff like that. The bills get paid, the appliances are handled, taxes are paid, etc. Right?
Hmm.
And it's one of the things you, and I don't think you'll have this problem because you've been collecting video games for a long time. This will be an easy transition of you. Is this within my budget? Can I afford this? Da 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 da. Right?
Right.
But also, what I would use YouTube reviews for and stuff like that is a particular company making good quality figures consistently.
Hmm.
Those are the people that should get your money, right?
Yeah.
Those are the
Hmm.
ones you spend the money on. Particularly if you're going to spend more than the average out of your budget, more than you're willing to just roll the dice on and see if it's a good figure.
Hmm.
Look for companies that have good reputations and ask your other collecting friends about that too for similar reasons, right? Have you bought anything from Figma or Revlotech or whatever? And if they
Hmm.
say yes or no and say, well, this one was good, this one was bad, they're a little spotty, but, you know, or no, just avoid at all costs, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think about that whenever I do come across something that I know I would love to own and probably wanted it at the time of release, but there's no way in hell I could have afforded that price point. There are still some figures and lines that, like for example, Vince was hyping me up on everything American Werewolf in London was coming out. NECA, Funko, uh the what is that toy line? The Terror Tunes. There's
Yeah, Terror from NECA. Yeah.
yeah, there's an American Werewolf line with that. You can get him and you can get his buddy as the zombie. Like there was no company that wasn't getting their hands on this property in some way, and I'm like, this is gonna kill me trying to get all this stuff because this is one of my favorite movies of all time. And to know now that they offer fans this kind of product, like that's where my mind's made up on, yes, I got to get a hold of this somehow, but I can't afford some of those prices. And it devastates me. Even if I did set aside funding to do just that, because I have to, as a single parent, I have to budget everything. And
Yeah,
sometimes because of, what we were talking about prior to the podcast, this whole uh parentification, being forced to grow up early
Hmm.
and having to take on these responsibilities and having to adapt this thought process. Sometimes I'll even second guess buying, that Powerade I just bought for $2. Like, did I really need that? Did I earn it? The bigger question. And I find myself doing that with just about all the things I collect: movies, cards, games, everything. I second guess a lot of my purchases. So when I'm lucky enough to find something at a reduced price in a Ross, or like Didi's has become another store that I want
Yep.
to I want to frequent because we don't have Ollie's, and as much as I watch those videos and those things on those shelves I would buy, Ollie's doesn't ship. So I'm always looking out for the things that I wanted at that time, just at a price that's comfortable. Because I really don't care
yeah,
if I don't get it right when it comes out. But I am
Right.
curious as to how that goes into, the mindset of you hardcore collectors, where, do you really have to jump on it when you see it? Or can you give it some time? Is it a safe bet to wait a little bit? All
it
the different
depends.
risk
It
factors that
depends
go
on
into
what
it.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
like the Mondo
company.
figure with Janine, that's a jump on it, or you miss parts of the figure, right?
Hmm.
Uh, Sup- um, Dr.
Serpentor, Dr.
Mindbender
Mindbender.
on Hasbro Post. I snapped him up real quick. I missed Serpentor, so I couldn't get my hands on him. Now he's like $300, $400, and I'm always going, God, do I really spend the money on that? And can I really justify that for the figure? So I still don't have a Serpentor because I can't make myself pull the trigger on it, right? Even though I have the money, I could afford it. Do I want to pull the trigger on it? And so I haven't yet, right? Janine might be an exception because if it doesn't come back in stock for me to be able to order, since it's not supposed to ship till December of 2026, but it already still says sold out. If that doesn't pop somehow again on their site, I'm going to end up probably spending double or triple the cost on her because I know at one point I'm going to clear a shelf and I'm going to want them around that desk with her.
Hmm.
I'm going to want that scene. And I'm probably going to justify it in my brain to spend the money on it, even though I shouldn't.
Yeah, that's one of those things. Going back to for the question, at least, I probably watch maybe 4 or 5 different like Transformer YouTubers just because I like their reviews of stuff, and it's just cool to like see vintage things I've never seen that were like in Japan, or maybe some upcoming figures that they got from like the UK because the UK market gets it before we do. But other than that, I mean, other than like maybe Pixel Dan, there's not a whole many. Nope, really like my collecting experience isn't influenced by others unless it's like, oh hey
Yeah.
man, I know this is something you're gonna want. I know you didn't see it. And I'm like, dang it, I need this in my life. And then but most of the time it's just like I keep up with that stuff so much. Um I'm always looking at like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth. I look at I'm always searching because I'm on in all the toy groups on Facebook. So I know what's coming out. But as far as the second question, as far as like something I missed out on something, or should you jump on something as soon as you can? Like anytime it's something like Macross or Guyver that I want, it's something I'm going to jump on. But unless it's like a HasLab, maybe I'll try to jump on that if I can, if I got the funds, because those are kind of expensive.
Well,
Um,
and some of them are worth it and some of them aren't. Like that Arctic cat thing, I didn't really want.
hmm
The Firefly one, the helicopter, I kind of wanted that and I didn't pull the trigger on it.
hmm
But I still haven't opened up my Rattler, man. It's still sitting there because I don't know where I'm going to put it.
I had it
So
on
it's
my
still
bookshelf over
in
here, but
flux.
like now that I moved that, I put some other ones. It's such a wide wingspan. Like
And
you
that's the
literally
other
have to
thing.
have it like where the wings are like this to be able
Yeah,
to sit
and
on the shelf.
that's another thing with collecting, particularly if you get into like especially GI Joe. GI Joe
Yeah.
is probably one of the worst about this, and the Robots lines too, because they're big, and the space is a thing, right? Particularly as your
Hmm.
collection gets bigger, and your house isn't getting any bigger, you know. You
Nope.
so you're either boxing things up and trying to store them and hoping you can keep the box somewhere where the box doesn't get faded, and you're losing attachments because no matter how much I try to store these things, I'm always losing some sort of piece somewhere,
Or
and it
something
drives me
breaks
crazy.
in the storage.
Yes,
Ugh.
yes, and it's the pitfall of the collector. And honestly, especially starting out, the simpler you can keep your collection is probably the better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Niche down on something that you really enjoy and go all in on that one thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
and don't even get the ones that have like 80 million parts and stuff like that because you're going to use like maybe a fourth of those, and the rest are going to sit in a box somewhere. You're going to lose them. And then
That,
hmm.
if you try to resell it, then it's incomplete, and people are bitching about the quality of it. Ugh, it's just
that's
the
how
worst,
that's
right?
how I felt about with some of those Marvel Legends where it's like I wanted the giant juggernaut, but I didn't want to have to buy all those figures just to get the pieces,
Oh yeah,
you
the
Hmm.
know?
original one. And then they did release him with a Gamerverse version, which is
Yeah, the
so much
Gamerverse
bigger.
version looks really good.
Yeah.
hmm Because I want those. I want Juggernaut. I want Colossus. I want my boy Warpath, um, who I have not found anywhere. So I'm probably gonna have to buy him, online, both costumes. Um, But I've been thinking a lot about that because before the holiday, I was hitting up Ross's like mad, and I was coming across a lot of cool stuff. Things I didn't need, I'll be honest.
Hmm.
Things that I wasn't even sure why was I getting them? Is it because they're here finally and I can finally snag them? Or, was there something else that did I want this before and I just couldn't afford it back then? And now I can because I'm finding them at a cheaper price now at these stores that I didn't anticipate to find anything in. And I have been paying attention to some YouTubers who do that, who hit up these various stores. I do get a little jealous when they showcase things that aren't even in my stores yet, and I'm hoping to kind of luck out on that, but I'm wondering if that also hinders my desire to collect because I see what they get and we got jack squat out here. Uh, but
That's one
I've
of those
always,
things that is really such a pain because with toy collecting,
hmm
there are certain markets that don't get hit with the full amount of stuff. So like usually it's East Coast or West Coast sometimes that get the toys before the middle of America.
hmm
And it's frustrating because then like they don't ship enough to us. And then that's why like if they don't hit that first market right with them selling everything out, um they'll just sit on it and that's when they sell it to Ollie's or to Ross to
Mhm.
move it out of their storage to make room for the next product. And sometimes there's times I'll never see something that I see at Ross. I'm like, I'm glad I saw this. But then there's so many collectors here in Houston that I'm trying to compete against that like when
mm,
the animated Batman Batwing was hitting Ross for like $70 or whatever, which was like a $200 vehicle, I couldn't find it. But then when I went to the convention that like a couple weeks later, people were selling it for 150. I'm like, I'm not paying $150. I want to pay with at Ross for it instead of
Yeah.
somewhere else. And it's frustrating the competition for toy collecting sometimes.
would you all say as gamers yourselves that the competition for toy collecting is either better, worse, or the same when it comes to the video game market?
I'm not really dipping into the video game collecting market. I would say it's probably at least the same because scalpers are going to be scalpers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In every market you have, in every online sale you have, any exclusive thing you have, um, people are going to jump into it and try to sell it at a markup. Now, are the prices as bad? It depends on what it is. I mean, because like a G.I. Joe classified figures that starts at $25 might go up to, say, $40 or $50, right? That's not as bad of a price point as like a video game that would retail for 40 going up to 80 or 100 or $200, but you're still doubling the price. Any way you look at it, you're doubling or
Hmm.
tripling the price. It's just the base price starts a little lower a lot of times in the figure collecting. So the prices can be not as egregious, and sometimes they're worse depending on the
Yeah.
rarity because you're going to have shorter runs of some figures than you would ever have of a video game, right?
Yeah.
Because it'd be one out of every 20 boxes that this figure shows up, right?
hmm
And so those are just insane. And
Yeah.
the people that know what they're looking for, they know when the stores restock and they're there the moment they restock.
Hmm.
And they're
It's
pulling them off the
insane.
shelves
Yep.
immediately.
Mm,
They made friends with the worker there. If it's like it's a NECA rep or some kind of the rep for some toy, they've already made friends with the rep. They know their times, or then they pay somebody at the store to let them know, hey, we just put this stuff on the shelf, or we just got it in the truck. We're going to have it out at this point in time, so they can beat people to it. And it's like,
yeah.
yeah. And then it's not like people wanting to collect this stuff. It's just scalpers. It's people going in to make a
Right.
buck
Right.
Right.
and flipping it.
Like with Pokemon scalping right now is probably
Hmm.
Hmm.
the worst markets I have ever seen.
Hmm. I've
And
heard that from multiple people that you can't even find a pack of cards. Like
No.
they used to be able to go in and get a pack of cards with their kids and open them up, and you can't find a single pack anymore. They're just gone.
None of
Yeah.
my Walmarts have Pokemon right now. They've quit selling them because of
Mm-hmm.
the craziness that people have went over it. And going back to your question though, I feel like there are some companies that we have to jump on because they create this sense of FOMO. Um,
Artificial scarcity.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And so like NECA, for instance, like I know sometimes you'll see them peg warm for a long period of time. I think Predator's one of the notorious ones that peg warm a lot. But
Yeah.
then like there's a there's a run of turtles, that people just grab up and that's it. You'll never see them again. The movie Turtles, I think, is pretty bad about that. Uh, I want to thank Vince and them for getting me Danny because the only way you get Danny from the movie was to get this little prize box that
Loot crate.
Loot Crate did. Yeah. And if
Yeah.
not, you're going to pay like $200 for him. Like, but I don't want to. Like, he's not worth it.
Yeah, yeah.
So to create that is just terrible for collectors. But then going back to what Geek said, like sometimes you just have to bite your lip and say you're not going to complete this unless you
Hmm.
want to pay that scalper price.
Yeah. Yeah. And we could say the same thing about the gaming market too.
Oh yeah, any
Some,
kind of collector's edition.
yeah,
Yes.
Well, and like a
some,
lot of the NES games and stuff like that, you can emulate a lot of those, or you can get them in collections. But people want that original cart. They want that nostalgia feel. There's a lot of ways to play those things that are legit and some that aren't legit. You're still getting the same experience, but you want that cart.
Hmm.
yeah.
Are you willing to pay? Like Little Samson is a prime example that always comes to my brain, right? That cart's worth tons from the NES, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a pretty unknown game at the time. I don't remember ever even hearing about it until I got into the retro scene, right? But it's like a holy grail for a lot of people. You can
Right.
emulate that, sure. You could probably play it on a couple services, and that would be fine. But people want that cart. That
Mm-hmm.
they want the physical cart, and they're willing to. It's are you willing to pay the price point?
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and that's every market: video games, toys, movies, because movies, vinyls, and all that stuff fall into the same thing. Anything that people will collect fall into the shoes. Shoes were where like the online scalping started because
Oh
you had
yeah.
limited run kicks, right? And
Mm-hmm.
people would snap them up and sell them on eBay and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think about shoes as a collectible thing. I think of them as a wearable thing, but they're a highly collectible thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Hmm.
to each their own. And what you collect is what you collect, right?
Yeah.
So our toys are more prone to, I don't want to say artificial markets, but maybe that is the way to describe it. As toy collectors, are you more prone to that where they complete or they create that limited scarcity more than say these other
Yes,
markets?
I
Hmm.
would say yes.
Yeah.
Because they know like certain things, like this Janine figure in my case is kind of it's one of those figures that ties other figures together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you have a popular character like a Serpentor, and
Yep.
you make him super rare when he doesn't need to be super rare, particularly when it's somebody who's big. This isn't like Mondo that does a limited run of stuff and then they're done because that's their manufacturing limit, right? And even that's an artificial scarcity. You could take pre-orders or open it up
Yeah.
and then make some more after that. And if it sells out if that pre-order run goes out, you could do another run. There's nothing stopping you from doing another run, yet they don't. But
Ha
Hasbro is one of the worst about doing artificial scarcity.
Haslabs are the
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
worst. I because like
Yeah.
I missed out on Unicron. That was the one I wanted. That would be my holy grail for Transformers. And then even though I wanted that figure because it was released by Hasbro, but it's not the best Unicron. I still think the other one that
Right.
you were talking about is looks better. But
Yes.
that his tank,
But he's a cool figure. And he even came with like the stand and stuff. It's a cool
right?
figure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen
yes.
that one.
But the his tank, I missed out on it. Still six
See,
hundred
I
dollars.
got the his tank and I missed out on the helicopter.
Right, yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Now the
And
his tank transformer or
No, the
no,
his tank transformer is actually kind of cool. Matter of
yes.
fact, I need to open up. I've got the I've got the Sergeant Slaughter tank that turns into Cup. I need to break that one
Yes,
open.
Triple T. That's awesome. It's great. I
Yeah,
think
it's
it's
such
one
a
of the
cool
best.
Ah,
It's
idea. I
one of the
love
best
it.
ones. It's one of the
why'd they
best
give him
ones.
Cup?
That's what I said. It should have been Ironhide, but
You know,
Yes.
I'm actually kind of cool with Cup because Cup was one of the wreckers.
yes,
He's actually kind of when you look at him outside of the movie, he's kind of an uber badass. So it kind of fits,
yeah, he's a war
right, with Sergeant
veteran.
Slaughter.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
Yeah.
get that.
But
So
again,
so
Um,
he works.
but he has that same issue that with certain characters I don't like just because their name or their design.
hmm,
Like I mean I can't imagine some kid like I got Cup, you know.
I
Liked
have
my
him.
Cup figure as a kid,
He's up.
actually.
I did too. I lost mine. I got him
Yeah.
for like for
Yeah.
24 hours. My grandmother went and took
Yeah.
me to Toys R Us one weekend, and I had it, took it to the laundromat with my mom, and I left it. And then by the time we went
I,
back, it was gone.
I'm
He's
sorry,
a
but if you,
weird, futuristic, yet old looking truck.
Truck, yeah.
And the
yeah,
grizzled personality and all the war stories. There was something really endearing about Cup in the movie just because of all the war stories and his
yeah,
interactions with
the
Grimlock and his mentoring of Hot Rod that went beyond his transformation and
I
made
knew
him
you
more
could do it,
iconic.
kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then you put the whole Wreckers background, which was like the Wreckers were sort of like the Suicide Squad of the Autobots, where they would send them into these impossible missions where the mission wasn't expected to be completed, but had to be completed. You might not come back, and somehow they managed to come back, right?
Mhm.
So they were just this grizzled, like nobody else can punch through this. I guess we'll send these guys in. And
Hmm.
he was running that whole group.
Yep.
So when you start taking that mentality of a character and then you look at Sergeant Slaughter, you go, yeah, these guys will get along fine.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just wish they had given him more thought of as to like a cool character name because if I don't know who the character is, but you tell me one is named Cup and the other's name is Jetfire, I'm sorry, I'm gonna pick Jetfire by default because
Yeah.
that just sounds badass to me.
Hmm.
Or Skyfire, as he was called in the
Yeah.
show. They
Yes.
had this
Yeah.
weird name thing.
Because
Hmm.
of
Honestly, I have a fondness for that old Macross figure. Knowing
Yes.
now it was a Macross figure, I still look
hmm.
at that figure and go, it's an amazing figure. It's
Oh,
it's
it's
just
I
fantastic.
stellar.
it's one of the grails that I wish I had, honestly. I've realized that I'm not going to get my hands on any of the real G1s that I want, so um I'll settle for like bootleg variants or I'll settle for like I have three Jetfires, but they're all missing different pieces. I thought about taking them all apart and trying to make one complete Jetfire, but I wouldn't even know how to do that.
You
You
could
know
send
what you
it.
could
I
do?
could fix it. I can do it for you. But
I
no,
was
go
about to
ahead.
say Vince might be able to do it for you, but there's also another alternative. They always do a TF con. And one of the things that
Oh
they
yeah.
do courses at TF con on kit bashing, which is where you get multiple figures and then you break them apart and put them together as the figure you want, right?
Hmm.
So maybe a figure doesn't have one aspect about it you don't like, but this other version does. So you can bash the two together. So what you might do is take those with you to one of those if you have an event that you can go
Hmm.
to and talk to some of the community and go, I have these and I know there can be a complete one. I need help. And I
Yeah,
almost 100% guarantee you somebody will be like, we got you. We'll get it
Yeah.
done. And by
because
the end of it, they may even just teach you how to do it while they're doing it and be like, okay, we're going to do this, and this is why we're going to do this. And then they put it back together a certain way, and they're like, okay, so that I get it this way, right? Okay, so this color is a little off from this color, so we're going to do this, right? Just to just to streamline it, right, and make
Hmm.
it look
right,
clean. But those
because
kinds of things, I wish I could go to a TF Con so bad. It seems
I
like such a fun event.
yeah, I don't think I could ever make my way out there for something like that big, that expensive, but I have three Jetfires that my friend Tony, God bless him, was really trying to help me get, um, if not complete, at least a full Jetfire figure from his inventory. Or he was actually trying to reach out to other sellers, like, hey, I got a good friend who's really just looking for a Jetfire, loose joints, whatever, just looking for one that actually is the complete
Fully
figure.
transforms. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Because that's I grew up with Robotech too. We had the Valkyries, we had the mini Valkyries, we had the big ones that could transform. So I honestly did not put that together that he was from Macross. So
Yeah.
when I found that out, I was like, awesome. But then I also grew up with the books and tapes where they called him Skyfire.
Hmm.
So I'm like, oh, I want to go get the Skyfire toy. And people are like, who the hell are you talking about? The
Yeah,
Jet,
because the toy is
Skyfire.
called Jetfire. I
Yep.
think
Yeah,
Jetfire is a cooler name, personally.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
yeah.
was always more fond of Jetfire than Skyfire.
hmm So was I. And then of course my favorite is Skywarp. Um, has the coolest paint design, cool name, cool ability. That was like my favorite of all. Um,
See, my favorite Seeker I think was Thundercracker, just because I like the color blue, and I thought that whole character looked really cool in blue. Skywarp's
yes,
abilities are much cooler, though. I agree.
yeah. I have a Thundercracker, but he's a reissue. I for the life of me I don't know what series he's from. He's in a box that has that Velcro door on it.
Oh, it's probably the Toys R Us re-releases.
I think
Yeah,
so.
probably.
Yeah.
Um, but I have that and I'm happy with that. I got the reissue Soundwave. I think I have a Takara, uh, one of the Dinobots. I don't even, I think I got that at a thrift store. Um, but I've been having a lot more luck with going to Ross and getting the NECAs I missed out on, or
Yep.
Hmm.
sometimes I might come across like there's two Broly figures that I want, but I don't need them. They're just cool, because it's Broly. Um, and I'm thinking about getting those, but I've debated on what is the best source for something like that. Is it online? Is it toy conventions? Is it hoping to God I luck out if I go to my Ross or Didi's in the area?
To be
Um,
fair, it's all of them.
It's all, yeah, it's
I,
all of them.
I I hate to tell you that, but it's kind of all of them, right? Because
yeah.
sometimes you can find stuff on eBay at a reasonable price, and it's worth it if you think the reseller is pretty good. Sometimes you'll find some hidden website that you might have to cross check with other collectors, either
hmm
some you know or other sites that rate some of these things and go, is this legit? Is it a knock? And maybe sometimes they'll say it's a knockoff, but are you okay with the knockoff, right?
Right.
You
Hmm.
just want it because it looks like what you want it to look like, or do you really need it to be official, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
sometimes the knockoffs are just as good. Sometimes they're even better.
Because
Yeah.
It
the
just depends.
The masterpiece ones are they improve on what Takara did and they release them and they're even better
hmm
than because like I picked up the Megatron, the second release MP, and he looks great and he's a KO.
Yeah.
Because prior to Walmart having the re-release of Soundwave, which I bought two of those suckers, I said if I'm ever going to get my hands on a Soundwave, it's going to be this way. Prior to them doing that, I was actually going to buy a bootleg Soundwave that I had seen in a YouTuber's video years ago, and I think the line is called Armor Raker. I think that's what they were called. Um, but they were for a while being sold on eBay, and a lot of people were buying those, adding extra details to look more G1. But as a knockoff, it looked better than the original G1 line, and it was
Yeah.
taller, well supported. So I was like, maybe I should just buy that. Um, but I did get my hands on the re-release, so I'm happy with that. Would I still want a G1? Absolutely. It's just again, I don't know if I'll be able to meet those price points that some people want. And I still look. I go to the toy conventions out here from time to time. I still keep an eye out on, what people are going to have. I know there's always going to be a Transformers vendor. There's always going to be dozens of Hot Wheels vendors, which I'm just kind of like, ugh, who's buying these, anyway?
There are people who are huge on Hot Wheels. I was never that guy.
Yeah.
I liked some of the crazy ones, like the shark cars, or the ones you'd bash into them and the thing would flip. It's not like I didn't have Hot Wheels. They it wasn't. I've never been a huge car guy, so it was just never a me thing, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do you mind having a knockoff in your collection if it's just as good, or do you got to be a purist about your collection?
I'm a mixed bag.
hmm
Because a lot of times I'll get third party figures which aren't necessarily knockoffs, but
Correct.
they'll make figures like arguably the Shockwave that I have that's a third party one stands better and is better, just as good as the official masterpiece
Hmm.
one I have. But I have the official masterpiece one and I have that one displayed more than the other one. So I have kind of tendencies towards certain things, but I don't necessarily hate the knockoffs. If that scratches the itch of what you want and it completes your look kind of aesthetically, I think however you collect or whatever you decide to get, there's really no wrong way to do it unless you're just blatantly getting ripped off and the thing like, it's like the Turbo Man doll that he opens up and it speaks Spanish and it falls apart, right? If you
Right.
get that kind of experience, yeah, maybe not that, right? But if
Mm-hmm.
it's meeting the need of capturing your fandom in the right way and it looks good on the shelf and it brings back those memories on it, and you're not paying astronomical prices for it, I said go for it.
Hmm.
Honestly,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not opposed to knockoffs, honestly, because I have seen some really good condition ones. I've seen some very, like I was saying earlier with the knockoff Soundwave, I was really sold on getting one of those because I honestly thought it looked better and was sturdier than a G1 Soundwave. Now I couldn't get my hands on that, but I keep an eye out for it in the event that I do see it because it'd be
Hmm.
cool to have that knockoff in comparison to the Walmart re-release. And I'm the same way with repro carts. As long as you identify it as a repro cart, then I'm okay with paying, 10, 15, $20 for a repro versus a cart that I know I'll probably never afford in real form, like Resident Evil Gaiden. As much of a CIB collector as I am, I doubt I'll ever be able to get my hands on a legitimate, good condition loose cart, let alone a CIB version like I'd love.
Yeah. What about you, Start?
I was just sitting here thinking about it because like I kind of did that with the Star Wars collection. Um when you set up certain scenes, you need sometimes to army build, right? And so would you rather pay $25 for every stormtrooper standing next to each other, or do you want those knockoffs that's what, 12, 15, sometimes $20, a little bit cheaper, and then they look just the same, hopefully they don't fall apart. But no, I don't see anything wrong with it if, like you said, that that's what you're getting. Actually, while y'all were talking, I was looking up the price for Ninja Gaiden, and I'm kicking myself because I had that as a child and sold it to GameStop, and now I'm like, why did I do that? But
I wonder why anybody gives GameStop their games at all because they give you such poor
I was young
they give
and
you such poor
dumb.
return on that.
Now, are we talking Ninja
So
Gaiden NES or PlayStation 3?
you wait till they do the 50 to 75 bonus trade-in credit.
Yeah,
That's when you
well,
go trade
Mm,
in to them because they'll you may get like 80 bucks for something that they would have gave you $20 for, but because of the bonus, you end up making more than what you would if you would have sold it
yeah.
normally.
I don't know
Fair.
if I would still do it that way.
Well,
I
let
know
me
there
let
were times I went into places like that in EB Games and the used copy was only $5 less than the retail copy, and I just bought the retail copy, and they looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, I'm not giving you all this money when I can give the developer money when you're only saving me $5. You can stuff
Hmm.
it.
Yep.
let me
Half
ask you
price? Yeah, we'll talk.
let me ask you this: in the age of 3D printing, have you ever thought about designing your own figure?
Oh,
You know what? I don't I don't have the talent in AutoCAD to do that, but I've seen some Transformer 3D builds that I've been very tempted to tell my friend with a 3D printer, can you just like find this and print this for me? Because this looks really dope. There's some really good stuff out there. I'm not gonna
Yes.
lie. There's some great stuff out there in the 3D printing world. I just have not felt confident in dipping my toe into that.
I have seen a video of somebody who took the vehicle Voltron and 3D printed it with a whole new redesign that you can actually put minifigures in. And they all still combine, they're all still
That's
individual.
cool.
vehicles. You can tell it's 3D printed because it's obviously not as detailed, but the fact that he took that design and made it better was good enough for me.
Mhm.
And I even commented on his video, by any chance, is this for sale? Do you have a website where you sell these? Would you take a commission? Because I would honestly pay for this versus having to really, really shell out money for a vehicle Voltron.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, it was just a passion project for himself that he just did, but he proved it could be done, which was, I guess, his whole purpose.
There's
And as a Voltron fan, I was like, God damn it, you know, I want that. I want that toy, but it's like, okay, I get what you're doing. That's still
So
cool
I'm
though.
going to apologize for this being dusty, but I have a question for you guys. 3D printed or not?
Ooh.
I'm gonna go with no.
I'm going to let everybody
Mm,
come in before I do the answer. Vince?
Um, it's really well painted and detailed. I could see it being done 3D printed, but it looks like it was a collector's edition out of a box set of a game.
Zombie?
S-
I gotta say 3D printed.
You would be the person who's correct. This is
Wow.
3D printed and then just cleaned up and painted.
Mm-hmm.
So you can make, because a buddy of mine bought me this off of Etsy for Christmas. This was from Ghost of Tsushima, right? It's the main character, but
hmm
it was 3D printed, and then the guy just finished it up with, you know, getting down the print lines, wearing those
Mm-hmm.
down with acetate or something to where they don't show, and then doing a proper application of paint to make it look legit, right?
Hmm.
And it looks great sitting on my shelf. It's dusty. It's got cobwebs and stuff like that on it because I'm terrible at dusting. And not that I could ever dust this appropriately anyway, because all the details in the grass. But honestly, you're at this now with 3D printing, and this
hmm
is like a year or two old.
Mm-hmm.
This is this isn't even current 3D printing. So I could see in 5, 10 years easily being able to get prints of a lot of the stuff that we're pawning over after today that we want in a box and getting a
Yep.
printed copy of it and it looking every bit as good and in a lot of ways being approved.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And not and probably the technology used for the 3D printing being better where it's not as brittle. Because that's one of the bigger things is sometimes the breakage.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Well, the reason I
Yeah.
even bring it up is someone actually started a project where they made a 1-to-1 scale Blackbird for the 6-inch figures. And he had to do it piece by
Nice.
piece. And I was just like, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, but where are you going to put it when you're done? You know, it's because it's a huge ship. And then another thing is someone was making the Puppet Master puppets 1-to-1 scale, but Full Moon sued them and made them shut down because they were making better replicas than the company itself. And I was thinking in my
Aw.
head, like, why not work with them and sell them? You know, like
Yeah.
the dude's doing it better than you.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
I've seen some vehicles from the G.I. Joe 6-inch line. Like there's that one jet helicopter thing. I forget the name of it. Vince, you probably remember better than I do on the
Oh,
Joe side.
you're talking about the Skyhawk?
Yeah, the one that has the skids on it.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I saw a 3D printed version of that that looked just killer. And I was shocked that it wasn't like an official HasLab. Like it looks so good. So yeah, there's a lot of people with a lot of talent bringing this stuff to
hmm
life. But it's a slippery slope too, because like I'm saying, it, you're kind of walking a line there, right? Because it's an intellectual property that's owned by somebody that
mm-hmm.
you're making things off of, and you're making money off of it potentially. Now, if you're just printing it for yourself, there's no crime there, right? You're not charging anybody money for it. If you hand them a pattern and they print it, then you didn't make any money off of it. They paid for filament and they printed it, right? But if you're selling them retail wise and making a profit of it, that's where you start running into that
hmm
sketchiness of the whole
That's
thing.
that's one of the things that's kind of with people who do arts and crafts or artists at artist tables at conventions. They're doing replica art of or doing their own art of superheroes, Superman, Goku,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And it's like Well, are you stealing from the electrical properties because you could somebody else could go buy their own poster versus you drawing their art? It's one of the things my dad's always questioned. It's like it's okay, but it's like if you're going to get into the weeds of it, because sometimes those artists will do that. It's like, well, but I'm drawing this, and it's like, yeah, but you're drawing somebody else's character.
Right.
It's kind of the reason why I put the brakes on my pixel art
That's all so cool.
because I wanted to build a lot of this and sell it at conventions, but I know that there's a huge market for that too. A lot of people are making a lot of stuff. But my point of view was, yeah, but I can do it better. I can find, way more creative ways to kind of do some of that. But I also worried about the backlash of how long will that go until I'm actually hit with something that says, "Oh, you can't do this anymore."
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
Yeah.
I've been kind of cautious about that, but um, I have been impressed by a lot of what the fan base does with certain lines. It's just unbelievable. And it's a shame that it's not surprising that the fandom puts in more effort to make something of that quality because they love the franchise so much. You know,
Yeah, and I
they
think this comes full circle around to piggyback on your point to what we were talking about before we started recording. At the time in the 90s and in small groups of people that are passionate about something and drive towards a goal on something, you're going to get a better product than you are at
hmm
something that's run by a large corporation and done by committee. And we're at that stage now where, and you're always going to be in this stage anywhere where big company who wants a profit is never going to do something as well as a small passionate group
yeah.
that's motivated. Never. The
Yeah.
the smaller passionate group can always beat out what the bigger one can do, even regardless of budget, just
hmm
because they're going to put the time and effort to get the details right.
Mhm.
Yep. I would agree. Even from just a personal standpoint, because I've been out of the YouTube scene for some time now. I still get comments about the Metroid unboxing video that I did years back where we animated everything from scratch. And we recreated the Super Metroid intro shot for shot. We had the music, we had everything because that was a big passion project of my friend and I. And as fans of the franchise, we're like, no, if we're going to replicate this, we're going to do it right. We're going to do it the way that they did to the best of our ability. And we're still very proud of that project because of how well it turned out.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the communities that come together and make these videos about what their passions are. Like we talk about the legitimacy of the fandoms. We've talked about gatekeeping at times. Like
Hmm.
why do we do it? Why do we feel almost obligated in some ways to do it? Whether it's by turning off the television or not spending with our wallets. Um, and in fact, does that even do anything? Does that make these big toy companies say, "Hey, nobody's buying this. We should just go back to the drawing board and figure what people really want?" Or do they just look at it and say, "Meh, we're making money off of this already. Who cares about this now?" You
When
know?
you say that, I think about the Lightning collection that Hasbro had. They had so many QC issues, people were like just dogging them, and to the
Mm-hmm.
point where they said, "We're done. It's over. It's canceled," you know? So they didn't learn from their mistakes. No, I don't think they learned from their mistakes at all. If they listen to the fans, they want the paint apps, they want, the details. If we're paying premium price for a figure, whether it be 25, 27, $30, go the extra mile and you're gonna see a big return. But if you just copy and paste, every single time and not give any details, not, put your heart into it, people are gonna say something. But the corporations don't see that. They don't see the fans' passions as fans' cries. They say, well, I guess they just didn't like it
Yep.
because the Star Wars show, going back to an earlier point, the Alkalite, right now, that is peg warming all of my stores. and it did terrible. Like people have said, this is not what we wanted. And the corporations probably think, well, I guess people are tired of Star Wars.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's always the answer is where there must be tired of this, or it's that the oversaturation of superheroes, and it's not the case. And going back to Star Wars too, is the fact that like the Black Series is great. It's what started to really kind of push this whole 6-inch figure line. That's why we got the classified series. I mean, Marvel Legends was always around, but it took them a while to release the Star Wars figures that we wanted. Like we just
Hmm.
got a Dash Rendar. We started getting Shadows of the Empire figures. We just got Kyle Katarn from Dark Forces. But then
I've been so tempted by that figure.
so good.
Like I don't even want to go into black, but that character, that one in Cornhorn from the EU would tell
Hmm.
are ones I'm like, I really don't want to contribute to anything Star Wars, but oh my God, this character. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And it goes it's that's the thing is like if Star Wars when Hasbro releases Star Wars figures that relate to something I want, I'll get it. But then you may get one good figure in a sea of other figures you don't care about. Like, oh, it's some character from the Acolyte. Oh, it's some character from, the pre not the prequels, but the sequels. And it's like, I
mhm.
don't want this. Give me more. I want another Mara Jade. I
Give us the
want
characters we want.
I want the rest of the
Yeah,
Leia's twins. I want an Anakin and Jason figure to go with
Jason,
my Jaina.
Jaina, yeah,
But they don't know what they're doing. They can't even get the HasLab right for Star Wars figures. They could have had a all of it has been the vintage stuff, and it's like I don't want a vintage. But then again, that vintage Ghost with Hera and all them in that pack was amazing, and it was huge. I have nowhere I would put it if I ever got one.
I was so tempted by that.
But why aren't we doing an X-Wing, a Black Series X-Wing? Why aren't we
yeah.
doing like something, man, I mean, could you imagine a freaking Millennium Falcon HasLab for Black Series? That thing would like be the size of your car.
Yeah.
It would be
Yeah.
expensive, but no.
I mean, if you guys were lucky enough to have the USS Flag as a kid and were able to store that somewhere, I don't think these other vehicles would be a problem.
Right?
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the problem now isn't so much the size of any one figure, it's the number of them, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Oversaturation.
Like they have over like especially with the classified line, they have oversaturated this market to a ridiculous level to where like I don't even think I've gotten all the Marauders. I don't know which ones I have and which ones I don't have anymore. And I was keen on getting all the Marauders, but now they've got new Marauders. Like there's a new one with like with the hydroski thing. And I'm like, okay, so are you just going to release the hydroski, or like if
Oh
you
yeah,
wanted all
for
the
for
Marauders and
Zay.
hydroskis, you had to buy so many of that figure so you could get everybody on the hydroskis. Oh my god, right? There's it's just gotten they're really kind of fishing for the whales right now, and I get it because that's how the market for most things have gone. Unfortunately, since we're in a recession, and we're in a recession where certain people still have money and other people don't have
Hmm.
money, they're not catering to people who don't have money or have low income to still let them have things. They're going, well, we're just going to make things for the people who have lots of money,
Yeah.
right? And everybody else just gets left out. Um, Maybe 3D
Yeah.
printing will fix that at some point, but it's an unfortunate circumstance that collecting now, much like in any aspect, be it toys, games, shoes, whatever, has become almost a rich person's hobby. It's a really luxurious kind of hobby to be able to indulge in.
Yeah.
Um, and it kind of sucks
It
that
does.
way. I hate that about it. You know, as much as I love it, I hate that about it.
Well, no, like where we were at, like I see stuff, but it's the shipping cost for me to send it to Zombie or somebody else
Oh
is
God, yeah,
astronomical. Like I
Hmm.
could find things, but it's like I may not have the money to grab it, or I do, but I don't have the money to ship it.
Yeah.
yeah,
And it is then like what is it? The last couple waves of G.I. Joe, I've gotten wetsuit and leatherneck. That's it. I haven't been able to get most of them because I just don't have the money for it.
right.
I'm other things have been taking priority, but I want them,
Yeah.
but it is a rich person's hobby, and toys aren't made for kids anymore, and it's it's sad.
I wanted to
I
share
So,
miss stuff
something.
like Playland Toys and Toys R Us where you had aisles. I still
yes.
remember going through an aisle,
Hmm.
not a short aisle either, a long aisle of G.I. Joes. Just nothing but G.I. Joes. Peg after peg after peg, and shelf after
Mhm.
shelf of vehicles.
Got
I
there,
miss
Stark.
it.
Oh, sorry. It's like to associate my wanting of the ghost. I ended up getting this bad boy, the Micro
Yes.
Galaxy.
Hmm.
That's cool.
Like micro machines, and that's one thing I was kind of hoping we'd touch on is like one of those things as a child where you get a little bit of everything, a play set, a toy, and you can take it anywhere you want to go. And I really, really wish that they would go back to that market.
Oh yeah. I would welcome them to bring back Mighty Max. Um,
That's the one I
Well,
was trying to think of. I couldn't think of the name of it.
Hmm.
Mighty Max, which
yeah.
was like the guy variant of Polly Pocket. Yeah.
I also had the Marvel Pocket comics.
Yes.
Those were so cool. And then I also had the Godzilla ones,
Hmm.
the the kaiju heads. I
Yeah.
would love to have those come back.
I had all the
Whether
Star Wars ones, or most of them anyway. Those were the
Micro
Micro
Machines
Machines.
did make a comeback. Trying to remember. Oh
yeah,
God, I'm drawing a
but
blank on the name. There's a guy in the retro collecting community, CM Retro,
uh-huh.
who had another channel that he did Micro Machines on, but they're
See,
not. I don't feel like they're as good as they were back then. They
they're
don't look
not
as good.
Yeah.
because I collected micro machines along with my uncle. There is a huge difference in the quality with the newer one. The newer ones are not as well polished as the originals were. The original
Yeah.
micro machines had a sheen to them
Mm-hmm.
that made them look like real cars that
Hmm.
just
Didn't
came
they
off
have
the
like a
lot.
metal axle too? I seem to
Yes,
remember they had
Yeah,
like
I
a
think
metal axle,
so.
and
they
now it's
did.
plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, even the special cars that you'll get with some playsets don't even have the metal axle to them. They won't even have the chrome paint on them. And a lot of them are really dull. Like
Hmm.
those look like they were 3D printed. The playsets are cool. Like I bought two different ones for my son and I to play with because I when I saw those in stores I did light up again. I was like, "Oh, they brought back Micro Machines." Um, why they didn't get John Machida to come back and advertise those was a huge fail.
Before he
He
passed
died.
away.
Yeah, before he
I was
passed
about to say he
Yeah.
away.
died, so
Yeah.
that would be a
No,
problem.
I know. But I was
Yeah.
saying before he passed away, if they knew that they were going to relaunch him, they should have got him to do one last damn commercial. Uh,
Um,
but that was a toy line that I felt that they could have done better with a relaunch of. I felt like they could have put a bit more effort into it.
One of the
And
ones I think they've done a good job with is Mask. They've
oh,
yep.
relaunched Mask,
Loyal subjects. Yep.
and I kind of want to get those. They look incredibly good.
But
Sorry.
that's like taking an old toy and retooling it and re-releasing again for a market
Yeah.
that is demanding. And it's like that's my whole thing is like I've never understood why company wouldn't just re-manufacture the toy. They still have the molds. It's like why going to into games, why can't Nintendo just start re-releasing cartridges again
Hmm.
for people?
To be honest, in some of the cases, they've lost it. There's a whole story, and this goes into video games a little bit. Follow Cybertron, and War for Cybertron.
Hmm.
They were going to re-release those, and they can't find the code.
whoops.
So they don't know where the code went.
Sounds like Final Fantasy VIII. I mean, it's
Diablo 2 had the same problem. They couldn't find, they almost had to rebuild it from scratch, because they had trouble finding the code.
Is
So
that
these
why
things that
the
you think they have molds and stuff for, maybe they don't. Maybe they lost, or
hmm
maybe they got broken.
You
You know?
know that that happened to Turtles recently when they've been re-releasing all the old Turtle figures. They
Hmm.
had the ones with the shells in the back open and you can store their weapons inside.
Oh yeah,
They
yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah,
remember
they
those.
I
didn't
remember
have a
those.
Donatello in the re-releases, right? And everyone kept asking, "Where's Donatello? Where's Donatello?" They lost the mold. They don't have it, so they can't re-release him.
Oh,
Mm.
but you could retool it. You could take one that's
retool it.
already
Yeah.
retool it, or
Right. Right.
or
Yeah, you
make a
should
new.
be able to take any one of the other turtles and retool it.
I saw
In theory.
something. I saw something since you guys mentioned how if they can re-release something, but yet they still don't improve upon it. Um, I have one of the original dual discs from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Hmm.
Hmm.
The original one that came out at the time that Yu-Gi-Oh! Was hot. They reissued that. They remade it. It's supposed to be better than the original. Yet neither design accommodates cards with sleeves.
Oh no.
Wow,
So,
that's crazy.
so they want you to throw your high-priced cards in there, and you can't put them in a sleeve and put that in the dual disc. And I was like, why haven't they figured that out yet? Why haven't they realized, okay, there you go, see?
3D print.
Why
You need to 3D print them. Just put it on there.
why don't they realize that fans who play use card sleeves? Do you see any Magic the Gathering players without card sleeves? No.
Hmm.
You know who doesn't use card sleeves? Psychopaths.
For a psychopath, I'm surprised I don't get defined that way because all my cards are sleeves.
I'm so glad I haven't gotten into the card market. Um,
Oh, it's
Vince
insane.
sent me a starter kit of like Magic the Gathering cards when I bought that um Super Princess Peach from him, and I'm like,
Oh yeah,
and my
Vinny.
brain went, do I do it? And my rational brain went, oh no, you don't. You know what you'll
No.
do. And I'm like, yeah, I do know what I'll do. This will be a problem.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to know if our Vince here got the whole Final Fantasy VII collection because I remember how diehard you were about
No, I'm
getting
I'm
that.
still missing quite a bit. I just right now the freaking booster box are fluctuating between 130 to
Hmm.
210. I'm like, I just can't do it. And right now we have the Turtles ones out, and I haven't got any of
Hmm.
Yes,
those yet. Ugh,
those just came out.
yeah.
So I often I
but
wondered if it's the same thing too with the artificial market where they're only going to release so many on purpose because they know the demand's going to be there.
oh
Well,
yeah,
I know the problem with Magic is that they have so many printers and they have stuff scheduled to print. So like with the Final Fantasy, by the end of the year, they were supposed to have more print runs of just the basic set. You know, the booster boxes, the packs, and none of the stuff for the collector's edition. So, but like that was a 6 months gap between from June to December. So, and I haven't seen anything about them restocking that yet. And right now we had Avatar, Magic the Gathering, and Turtles now. It's like I don't know when they're going to put that stuff back into circulation because they're supposed to have the license for Final Fantasy for I think another 2 years. I think it was a three year deal.
aren't they
So
doing Avatar: The Last Airbender too?
yeah, they
Yeah, they're
did.
already out.
Hmm.
They're already
I've
out.
seen them. It's almost like Magic the Gathering is becoming the Funko Pop of trading card games because now they're just trying to get their licenses on everything.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
And I
They're
don't,
like the Funko Pop and the NECA of the card collecting
The
world.
card collecting world.
They're
yeah.
Yeah.
getting all the cool IPs that people would like this art on,
Hmm.
and there you go. And it
And
just happens that you can play a game with it if you
Yep.
want to, but you could just get the cards just because they look amazing. Like the only cards I used to collect a little bit is, and I still kind of wish I still had them. They used to have these X-Men collectible cards. If you
yes,
guys
The
remember
the
them, they
flares.
have
the
some of the
Fleers,
Yeah.
holographic or foil kind of
Masterpiece
cards, and
and
those things were amazing
yes.
looking. I
yeah.
thought they were so cool.
Everybody wanted
Um,
the hologram Wolverine.
yeah, but you didn't do anything with them. They were just like collecting baseball cards. It was just, X-Men.
Cool to have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Man, we could definitely go in further into collecting and other things. Man, this has been fun, guys. Do we want to do a part two at some point?
I
Sure.
I I can always come back in and talk again.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I'll have to plan that out. But any last thing we want to say before to new collectors or old collectors advice that we could give before
That
Collect
we
what
was
you want. Don't fixate on getting a whole collection. Collect what has meaning and what brings you joy, and let go of the rest. That is the best thing you can do. Otherwise, you're going to cause yourself undue stress and a hobby that's meant to be relaxing.
And ultimately, with that though, someone you miss might get another re-release. I was thinking about NECA again. They created a FOMO with Tokar and Razor. If you didn't get it right away, this is the only time that you're going to get it. But then all of a sudden, they found some more to sell much later down. And I'm like, see how many people stressed themselves out was click, 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 let me get it, let me get it, let me get it. Oh, I didn't get it, for them just to do it later.
Hmm.
But yeah, don't stress yourself out. It's a hobby, not a job, not a, you know, something that you absolutely have to have. Just enjoy it because we have limited time here on this earth.
Don't give in to the FOMO. Is it
Yes,
basically?
don't
Yeah.
don't give
Yeah,
into it.
yeah. That's what I have had to live by since I've known a lot of you guys and have learned a lot from just your experiences and the uploads in Discord, our pickups and whatever they are. Um, I meant to showcase something that I found at Dollar Tree, which are Ninja Turtle bath bombs to go with my little
That's
cup.
awesome.
So I was
That's
like, do I
awesome.
want to smell like a Ninja Turtle? Hell yeah, I do. Uh,
Someone smells
um,
like sewage in here now.
wait, that was before I got in the tub? What the
Oh
hell?
man.
Well, maybe I shouldn't have that anchovy pizza. Um, so yeah, I would definitely say you gotta, this is a market much like, if not more so than the video game market. From what my experiences have been so far, gotta be patient.
Hmm.
Don't don't worry about the FOMO because I sure as hell didn't, and now I get to reap the benefits when I can.
hmm
So,
Yeah.
and if that's really what matters to me is owning that figure over time, that's fine because I didn't have to sacrifice much other than my time. So, I would definitely say have patience, don't worry about FOMO, and reach out because that's the one thing that has helped me a lot is reaching out to people in your communities who know a thing or two about this.
So, yeah, that's what I was going to say is that jump in some of these Facebook groups, find a Discord, find a community that collects the and enjoys the hobby. And with the connections, you can find things that you want. They may have something that you want that they don't want anymore, and you can make a trade. You don't even have to pay for anything other than shipping. Don't stress out about it. Don't break the bank, and enjoy it. That's all I got to
And
say on
also,
that.
don't be afraid to let certain things go. Like if you've had it and you've enjoyed it, even if it's missing some parts or something like that, like a lot of these things that I've got, I don't really care if I make any money off them when I resell them. Honestly, and depending on the person, I might just hand it to them for the cost of shipping, right? Because
Mhm.
I've enjoyed it. It's been a part of my life now. Now let somebody else have some fun with it, right? And that's not how every collector's going to be. That's maybe just more of a me thing, right? But you'll find there's a few more me's than there are of people that want to pinch every little penny out of something that they've pre-used and enjoyed, right?
Yeah.
And even if you just make a little bit of money back on it, even not a lot, just so you can avoid something else that might bring you joy for a certain period of time in your life, then that's enough, really, at the end of the day, right? And so
Yep.
look for people that are like that, right? Like, I don't know. It just there's some of these things are transient and some of these things are will always kind of be around in some way, fashion, or form until I just can't have them anymore because of reasons, right?
hmm
Because they make me happy.
Yeah. Exactly. And collect because you enjoy it, not because other people expect it of you or you're
Right.
envious of somebody else.
Or
But
because you think you'll get the hits.
yeah, or
Yeah.
the clicks, the clicks. Yeah.
Boy, people that do toy collecting videos, I would be so curious to figure out what happens to this stuff because sometimes it's daily, sometimes it's weekly, and I'm like, what, what, where are you putting it?
Yeah.
Where? Like, how? I'm running out of room out of my collection now, and I'm nervous about buying anything because of the room that I don't have now. How are you doing this for a living? How? It's just crazy to me.
I mean,
Well,
More power to them.
there's a
yeah.
lot
Go
of
ahead.
people who buy and resell, you
Yeah, they
know.
do. They can buy it
True.
to review and
True.
then they sell it. Yeah. Guys, thank you for being on this episode.
Fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I just want to give a shout out to somebody on TikTok. His name is Retro and Rare Unpacked, and what he does is he opens up, toys from our nostalgia from old toys because there was never, period where we had the internet when we were younger. And, a lot of people do unboxings and stuff like that. But that's what he does with older toys. He opens them up, reviews them, shows them off and stuff like that to get a little bit of that nostalgia out there. And he's just a good person. And if you can, check him out and show him some love on TikTok because he's just like us. He's not, someone who just collects old stuff for the price. You could see that he has that reverence that we do for it as well.
Well, guys, thanks for being here.
Yep.
Thank you for
Our
I'm
having
gonna be
us.
pleasure.
quiet so
Yep.
we can go.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta eat. I gotta eat. But no, well, everyone, let us know in the comments down below what you thought about this episode. Answers to the question that Zombie asked or the ones we did as well. What is your process for collecting? If you like this video, give it a like. If you want more content like this, please subscribe. Everyone, have a great one. See you next episode.
Bye.
Bye
Peace.
bye.